Hey guys, what's going on? Xbox All In channel, host Sega Forever. Decided to do an all in pop video today, just because I've been enjoying a lot of what pop culture has been offering lately. Of course, you guys know I talked about K-pop Demon Hunters. We'll get into that. That'll probably be the majority of the show because I really do love that movie. It's on Netflix if you guys didn't know. It's made by Sony Animation. And shout out to Sony Animation, man. I mean, after watching this show and some of the other animated series that they've done, seems like they found their niche from back in the days. Back in the days with Sony Animation in the 90s and going into the 2000s, especially when they were firing on all gears. And a lot of people thought they'd be able to take on Disney. And that didn't happen, man. Disney is the big elephant in the room as far as their animation. Um, and shout out to Disney back in the day, man. They had animation studios and they had Pixar. And when they picked up Pixar, both studios kind of pushed off each other. And that's how Disney was able to create some of the movies that they did. That's the far cry from where Disney is right now. Let's be honest with the stuff that they're producing. I'm not saying all their stuff is bad, but definitely formulaic in some aspects. They keep on going back to the well on a lot of their projects instead of greenlighting original content. And when they do original content, it's all stuff full of either woke or political ideology, which ruins the story for both fans and consumers. And that's the honest truth about Disney. And I don't see them changing anytime soon. So again, fast forward to, let's step back to K-pop Demon Hunters. I think it's an animated movie that is very needed right now. I know The Wild is a movie about the robot. I'm not sure who did that. I think that might be Sony as well. I should look that up. But there's a movie I watched with my kids called The Wild, and it's about this robot that crash lands on a planet Earth, and I think it's Earth. Anyway, it crash lands. It's supposed to be delivered. It's supposed to be a robot. I think a service bot and stuff like that. But it lands in the wilderness, and then it makes friends with the local wildlife. And when you look at it on paper, it looks like something that's just kind of a one-off for an animated film, something you just take your young kids to because it should be safe. And there's a lot of layers to that movie, man. I watched it with my son and my daughter, and they both liked it, which is very rare for this day and age. My kids have gotten older. It's not the same. It's not the same like it used to be back in the day when we used to watch a lot of stuff. So a little bit more picky. Times a little more essence to them, right? As far as what they want to spend their time on. Mostly it's with friends and going out and stuff like that, which is cool. I went to the same thing. That's why I talked to you guys about my channel. Some stuff like a lot of people wonder why I'm not a huge Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fan. I'm a fan, but not a huge fan. And Power Rangers totally missed that. Totally missed Pokemon. It was popular, like it blew up when I was coming up in the '90s, but it was at that time, dude. I was at that age, so I see the same thing with my kids. So I totally understand. So I always appreciate when we can have those times together. And that movie, I believe, is called Wild Robot. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, or in the comment section or in the chat. Um, but yeah, it was a really great movie, well written, good pacing. A little bit of a messaging in there. It didn't bother me though, as long as the story is intact. They don't lose focus. Because let's be honest, for the last 5 to 10 years, it's just been bad. You know, and of course with politics and stuff like that, a lot of people did not like the election of a certain president in 2016, and I liked it because it exposed a lot of people, especially in the entertainment industry, that they just couldn't put their politics on the side. It's a fight I think we needed to have for the soul of pop culture. I've been doing this for my whole life. It's something that I understand, that I like, that I do, and I've just accepted. There's times I try to walk away from it, and I'm still doing it to this day, as you guys can see. And it's good, man, because it goes through its ups and downs. It has its ebbs and flows, right? And one of the great thing about it is that every once in a while it'll find itself again, and that's what's so good about K-pop Demon Hunters. Um, just and that's what it is, dude. It's those moments, right? It's the same thing in gaming. We're gonna talk a little bit about Gamepass today because the false narratives are still on there that I want to address and make sure that people understand. I kind of touched this on my other video, but even more stuff has come out on Game Pass, man, and people just don't get it. They really don't, and I think it's hypocritical of these people because they participate in everything else that's digital. I think it's good to be savvy when it comes to digital content, like keep one eye open kind of thing. When I have Hebot and Segaman on the show, they talk about it in detail because they are physical collectors. I still have my physical stuff. I'm not as hardcore as they are, right? But from that perspective, right? I mean, that's something that I think you need to keep in mind, especially when you're making purchases. When you're a fan, it's one thing, but when you're also a consumer, right? Because like a lot of people do point out correctly, you don't own the content, and even stuff that you're buying, technically you don't own it, especially if it's digital. Okay, and I think that's where the crux of all of this comes from. I really do think that somebody has to go ahead and do a digital. I do, people talked about a digital bill of rights. I think that's a little bit much as far as the title, but I think it is necessary to have some type of measurement, something in place, some mechanism in place that holds these people accountable, especially the corporations. And you guys know I'm a huge capitalist. I'm not a anti-corporation type of person, dude, but I am. You have to be pragmatic and practical about this kind of stuff. As you can see, what's going on with the economy, people are definitely taking advantage of the current economic situation, and some of these people are the corporations, right? And it's kind of a running joke where I work. I work at a budget office, and we kind of joke about this all the time. We blame everything on tariffs, right? And in fun, the people I work with have a lot of different political views. The thing I like the most about them is they do have a lot of common sense. I mean, being born where I'm born, that's kind of like a necessity, especially culturally, right? Because at the end of the day, it's about being practical, and it's about things that's outside of all this stuff that goes on, mainly in the mainland U.S. and on a national scale. Everything in where I live in Hawaii is very local and local focused, and that can have its problems too. That can have its drawbacks, right? But at the end of the day, you have to keep one eye open, right? Definitely be realistic about the situation, and sometimes, dude, like I tell you guys on this channel all the time, you're gonna have to walk away. I mean, that's a lesson I learned when I got a little bit older. When I went to buy my last car, I was smart enough to go get went to the Federal Credit Union. I actually got a loan from them, and the loan that I got was specified, right? So when I went to the dealership, they tried to upsell it, and I was like, "No, dude, I can't. This is where I'm at. So what do we have going for me?" And this is the car that I have now. It was the newest model, and they're having this gigantic sale, and really great car. And I wanted to buy it because I like the brand. It's a Honda. And one of the reasons I like my Hondas is just the same way I have an iPhone, dude. I'm not like one of these guys. Like here, it's Honda versus Toyota, right? Or for a lot of people, it's Apple versus Android or Apple versus Samsung, right? They put an attachment on this brand. I'm not like that. Not like I am with the Xbox, okay? And so ended up getting the car and love the car. It is their first year going fully automated with their vehicles, and the pricing was right. I have to say it's been a complete blessing with this car. Haven't had any problems with it, and anytime I've had an issue, one of the reasons I stick with this with the brand is because I also like the dealership I go to. They're very consumer friendly. They tell you everything. They put everything up front. I don't care how much it costs. Just be honest with me, right? And that's what I've always had from them because I got their first year pilot, the '99 Pilot when they did the Pilot brand the line for the first time. I had that car and I love that car. It reminded me so much of Jeep, but without all the problems. So. The Jeep Grand Cherokee has the same kind of build, same kind of look aesthetically, and but without all the mechanical issues that I know a lot of people who drive Jeeps back in the day had. I'm not saying it's like that now; they've gotten better, but I know back in the day I knew several people that had that car. And again, a lot of times, man, they buy it because of the aesthetics, and like me, I would have done the same thing. But you got to do your research. You have to, right? And with anything, and so that was that's got the car. It's been great. Like I said, I went to the Federal Credit Union. They tried to upsell me. That didn't work. And you have to be willing to walk away is my point. And that's what I did. Walked away and they were like, oh, well, we have a 2016 car. They tried to push me in that. And I'm like, fine, let's do it. I don't need anything big or fancy, man. I just need a car. And they knew I wasn't going to budge, right? And I was serious about it. And I already had my loan. So they wanted to do business with me. And look, I get it, dude. That's the bartering thing that I had to learn about. But you have to be able to walk away. You have to want to walk away. And at the end of the day, that's what it's going to boil down to. Because like I say on my channel all the time, a lot of this stuff actually deals with people, right? Again, you see it all the time, right? They'll go from it's the corporations to it's the developers to it's the publishers. And ultimately, it gets down to where I feel one of the biggest crux of the problem is the actual gamers, quote unquote, the people who participate in a gaming ecosystem, right? Because there's, again, like I said the other day on my video, there's a lot of people that have no problem buying a PlayStation and buying Madden, right? And maybe they'll buy a couple other games, usually the bigger titles that come out. That's why there was such a big narrative on AAA titles, right? And because they do sell, right? But it's one thing to sell something, and it's another thing to have a fan base on it, like a true fan base, people that will keep on coming back. which ironically is why we're going to talk about K-pop Demon Hunters. I mean, that thing has gone next level. And then I'll wrap. What I'll do is I'll do K-pop Demon Hunters first. We'll talk about Silo because I got to put Silo on blast. Just because I have not been watching. If you guys know me on my channel, I don't watch a lot of American-made production, or I don't watch a lot of Western produced shows because they've gotten so bad. And I'm talking television, movies, everything across the board, even the music. There's very few things. Though I will say through my daughter, I'm discovering some other stuff like um, because of they're in that she's at that age right now. So been very impressed with some of the stuff that's been coming out. Not a lot, but some of it. And at my old age, right, a lot of the stuff is very definitely nostalgic. But with Apple, man, they've gotten pretty next level with some of their shows. Same thing with Paramount. Uh, what's the name of the Paramount show I'm watching? It's with Sylvester Stallone. It's Tulsa King. Absolutely love Tulsa King. And my friend recommended it. It's really cool. I hung out with my friend a couple weekends ago, and he's the one, man. We were gonna go to the movies, and then when we sat down and thought about it, the price, parking, and we're just gonna go just to hang out, not really to watch the movie. We're really interested in the movie, and he was like, dude, let's just chill, man. Let's just cruise a mile. He has AC, right? And I'm like, all right, that's fine, dude. And he's like, hey, did you check out this show? And of course, I'm not saying that I'm an elitist when it comes to the stuff I like to watch, but what I did look at, I was like, I'm just not into a lot of the stuff we produce anymore, or the West produces, if I'm being honest. And they're like, no, dude, come on, you have to check out these shows. And we watched a couple shows, and I give him credit, man. I'm like, and then that's the reason why I checked it out because he is my friend, dude. I trust his, taste in movies, especially. We kind of he's a little older than me, but we kind of grew up in that same age, so we like kind of the same stuff. We have the same complaints, and so I'm glad we did that, man, because now I have other stuff to watch. To kind of throw into the mix, man. I'm not saying like, look, solo leveling. Been talking about solo leveling for months now, and that's done, right? The season's done. It was an awesome season too. It was so good that I'm actually, looking at the graphic novels that I bought online, reading those, right? And try not to get too far ahead, but I don't think I can stop myself, right? And I don't have any problem with spoilers if I'm being honest with you guys. But that's how it's been for me, right? And then caught up with all my other anime, some other stuff's releasing, trying to pick up on some new stuff. With the K drama, same thing, right? The only problem I'm having with K dramas now is that some of the stuff I want to watch, they're on services outside of Netflix, which I knew, right? When I watched K dramas before, kind of in the late '90s, early 2000s, right, it was really, really bad. So I'm not complaining. Um, and I might have to pick up a subscription because there's some stuff that my one of my coworkers is watching. Sounds it's an interesting premise of it, right? But she's subscribed to the service. So and that's what's happening with streaming in general, right? And I think that's one of the issues that they're gonna have to figure out how to do it. And again, at the end of the day, bringing it back, right? Just coming full circle, it really does depend on you and how you spend your money. That dictates the direction that these people go in, and that's again with Game Pass, right? I won't do it now, but just wrapping up the intro. With Game Pass, that's what you see. A lot of people are missing and don't understand, right? Which is odd to me, man, because so many people are subscribed digitally to services. Now they'll bounce in and out and stuff like that. They'll be happier with the product more times than they won't be happy with the product 100% of the time. But if you can get an 80% clip from people, I think that's really good. Right? Or if you're like Netflix, where people just leave the subscription on, that's the main streaming service that they don't touch most of the time. I'm not saying people don't drop off. I've seen times when they've lost hundreds of thousands of subscribers for various reasons. Um, right now, it's all about economy, right? So I'm not saying that doesn't happen, but to be able to weather that and still maintain the majority of your fan base or consumer base, I should say, not fan base. I know very few people that actually are fans of Netflix. I am one though. I do like the stuff they produce. And I've had people come at me about, what about these shows that are actually really bad that they produce that goes against my ethics or politics or morality and stuff like that. I'm like, well, as long as there's balance, and that's what I find with their stuff. And for the most part, let's be honest, dude, Netflix, it's more about the quality control, man. They're above 50% for me, but there are times where they can hit a 70-80 clip as far as overall quality, but for the most part, they stay right above that medium, right? And that's because and that to me is not bad because of the base that they have, the consumers that they have to appeal to. It's across the spectrum. It's across the aisle, dude. It's international. So what I do is I just pick and choose the stuff that I have, and the really great thing about it's one of the things I love about YouTube is I don't really have to spend a lot of time. A lot of my stuff is I have a couple people I trust with the stuff that they like, and then I'll just watch their videos and they'll talk about it and I'll be interested or not. And every once in a while, I do the gaming thing, right? I'll just jump in. Like there's an ID Xbox game that just released. It reminded me of I think I talked about this on the other video. A game I like. There's a Strike back in the day, and I'm not opposed to picking it up and trying it out. Now it could work out, maybe not, but that's not the point. You know what I'm saying? That's what I mean by participation in this kind of thing. Being into the culture, the pop culture. That's part of it. And I'm not saying you have to do that. What I'm saying is that's just part of the process, right? This is why I'm very when I listen to people talk about like something like Gamepass. Right? This is why I kind of like my spidey senses tingle when they don't get it, right? And I'm not saying they have to get it. Just don't. Okay, if you don't like it, don't get it, right? But what's happening now is these people are trying to bring it down, and I don't understand for the life of me why they want to do it. Unless there's two reasons why. I know a lot of them want clicks and views, but other people just hate Microsoft as a company and Xbox as a brand, and that's what it boils down to at the end of the day. That's the majority of it. Because when you look at the people that talk about it, right? It's funny. Like some of them are actually subscribed to the service, or like you can tell they're from another. Like usually mostly on the Sony side, right? And their logic makes no sense because it's not coming from logic, right? Or even some of their they could have legitimate complaints, but it doesn't matter because it's all emotional. And that's the thing I can't stand, right? You can't reason with people like this. You're just like, all right, dude, just don't play, just get off. We'll talk about your system. We'll talk about your games, which they can't right now, right? I mean, they released the PS5, but what's going on over there, right? In fact, Xbox is sending their stuff over there, their brands over there, and I know that's Microsoft's way of kind of changing the game. We'll see how it works out because I can't really tell you. I mean, it might work out. It might blow up in the face. We'll see. But anyway, getting back, I just wanted to give you like the preview. I was hoping some people would jump in the chat, guys like Vontae and stuff like that, because I think this is something that'd be up their alley. But again, if you have not watched K-pop Demon Hunters, I highly suggest you check it out. There's, and this is what I noticed when something goes nuclear, right? Because it was kind of viral when it first launched. There was a good buzz on it, but not extremely huge buzz. Somebody like me, I'm tuned into this kind of stuff, so I did see it. My kids actually saw the trailer. They wanted to watch the movie. We set aside a day when it released to watch it. We didn't watch it the opening. I think we watched it the day after or the next day, something like that. Anyway, there was a palpable buzz around the movie, right? But it was one of those things where you're like, oh wow, the animation looks cool. If you guys watch the trailers, right, a lot of people who are into the music, which is K-pop, definitely was looking at it from a girl band versus a boy band. Probably have some of the traits of what it is to be in K-pop industry, stuff like that. But a lot of people were blown away by the animation, right? And I know some people thought the animation. So when you watch the show, the trailer I feel doesn't do enough justice to the actual movie. And what I mean by that, it's not that the trailer's bad. The trailer's actually pretty awesome because it hits all the points, right? That gets you that'll hook you. And then when you actually watch the movie, there's so much more. Like there's layers to it, right? And then that's why a lot of people are liking it. But it's that hook that gets people and stuff like that. So, but when you watch the movie, one of the things that stand out is there's I think some of the trailers there's a little bit of the expression, the camera angles and stuff like that. But when you watch this movie, man, it's in full beast mode, right? And that's something that a lot of people, and some people don't even. I'll be honest with you guys. Some people don't understand why they like that. I mean, I can tell when they're talking about it that it's because of the production value. Most definitely the music. That's indisputable. If I'm being honest, it's probably one of the best soundtracks I've ever heard. I've talked about this on another video. Let me go to something. I'm sorry, still sick, dudes. Go. Let me make sure I got all my stuff. Sorry, guys, please bear with me. And this won't be a long video, guys. I'm gonna try and knock this out really quickly. Getting back to format on my channel. I think Saturdays I'll bring back the pop. And if the guys want to jump in the podcast, I'm pretty sure some of the guys would want to talk about Superman. I didn't watch the movie. Probably won't. Probably wait for it to come on video or digital. I'll watch it with my daughter and my son. Check it out. And I already gave you guys my reservations about why I was a little bit worried about Superman, which had nothing to do with the actual character. It had everything to do with James Gunn. Well, anyway, I aired out another video, so maybe we'll bring that back around if I watch it or when I finally get to watch it. Sorry guys, let me set this up. So you can see by the title, will there be a K-pop Demon Hunters 2? All about the hit film's future. Yeah, I would not be surprised. I would be more surprised if there was not season 2 or a 2 K-pop Demon Hunters 2. And one of the things, look, I'll just be honest with you guys. Of course, when you see the title, to me, I when I first saw it, I know it's going to be tongue in cheek. Some of the stuff that they showed. I mean, watching Sony animated pictures the last several years, especially when they did Spider Man. It's something that it's fun, over the top. So I didn't take it seriously. And I see a lot of people coming out right now talking about it, which I think is a good conversation to have, man. I mean, as far as the demonology and stuff like that, the occult like stuff that some people see in the movie. I'm not opposed to people talking about that. I think it's funny to me. The older I've gotten, the more I think I like to say seasoned I am when it comes to topics like this, and I think it's a good discussion to have. But at the end of the day, for me, one of the reasons I love the movie is it's a typical good versus bad. Um, it doesn't try and redefine anything. It just knows what it is and it just presents it to you that way. And if you like it, fine. And if you don't, you don't have to watch it. And I think that's what people are connecting with the most when it comes to this movie. You know, like you can't like there's I see people saying, oh, this it's a girl power. It's a girl power type movie, but it's not a girl power fantasy over the top type thing. Like you see so much in movies, especially produced in the West, right? These is one of the things I think we in the West, when we produce this kind of stuff, miss out, right? And it takes, um, which is interesting because I know the directors are from here, right? I got, you know what? I might do that video, but my point being is that in other countries in the world, dude, they're still at that stage when it's about the entertainment and producing a product and getting money. And this is when I watched the interview with the directors, the co-director and the director, this is a labor of love, you can tell, and it shows. But at the end of the day, dude, it's just such an entertaining film, right? And then when you layer on top the music that's in the film, dude, that's why it's blowing up right now because a lot of people, again, they're getting the buzz. Like in the first wave, I would consider myself in the first wave because we watched it from the jump. In that first wave with K-pop Demon Hunters, um, it was about anticipation, excitement. Like, okay, let's watch this and see what it is. And as we watched it, we realized, oh my gosh, this thing has it's like an onion, dude. It has these layers, and some of the topics on there, not very deep, dude. And it's not modernized. That's why I can't stand about a lot of stuff right now, dude. It is what it is on the surface, but they still have these undertones, right, in the writing, and and you appreciate that because it catches you off guard. That's what I thought. I felt the same thing with Spider Man. It's one of like Spider Man. What is it? Miles Morales. The first one, really loved that movie, and then the second one was even better to me, right? Because they did this multiverse thing, which a lot of people can't do, and they nailed it. Because at the end of the day, they know what they're doing and they know what they are, and they presented it. And when you do that, when you focus like that, then you can just put all your energy into the actual product, and that's what you get with K-pop Demon Hunters. Like I said, dude, when I listen to the director and their interviews, and I should run that, and I'll do a video on that specifically just for this. We can talk about this a little more. Again, going back to why this stuff is going nuclear because people are breaking it down now. It's like so me. We were the first wave and we enjoyed it and we're surprised. Some of the story elements or some of the elements of the story definitely caught us by surprise. It's really hard for me to get surprised by stuff just for the simple fact that I've been doing this for so long. In fact, I think it's bad like for me because I've become jaded. So I gotta try and check myself when we watch this. And every beat that they do as far as the storytelling and the way it moves from scene to scene, everything is just on point. And when you watch people's, in fact, what's happening is if you can go online and watch some of the reactions of people, you can tell they're not expecting much, right? They're just there to enjoy the movie and have a good time. And then as the story progresses, right? And there's so many different layers to the story that there's people who will react differently than other parts of the story. So it kind of hits like some story arcs will hit them differently than other people that are watching it. That's why I like watching reaction videos because you can read a lot about this movie by how people react to it. But one reaction that everybody has is that they're pleasantly surprised, right? They did not expect the movie that they watched. They didn't expect it to be that good, or as deep, or with the story tropes. One thing that's blowing everybody away, I talked about it in other videos, is the soundtrack. Again, it's one of the best soundtracks I've ever heard. And you don't have to be a K-pop fan to enjoy it. I mean, it helps. That's the truth. Um, but it is one of the best soundtracks. And again, just let me reiterate this: when I say a soundtrack is good, there's different soundtracks that can be different, good for different reasons. This one goes beyond the pale just for the simple fact that it really ultra focuses on the character and the story. Every song in this movie just speaks, and either it pushes the story along at a clip, at a pace. It makes a lot of sense, dude. It speaks directly to a lot of the characters and what they're going through, all the emotions, whether it's sadness, they're happy, excited, you know what I mean? The power trip fantasy and all that kind of stuff. Every song does that. And the way that they arrange everything, whoever arranged everything, and it's the co-directors that I've seen in interviews, spot on. Right? They know what they wanted to do, where they just ultra focused on it and just made it what it is. And that's why when people are watching this, right? Again, me first wave, then you have the second wave of people that are catching up, that are into pop culture. That are like, okay, I heard about this, let's do this, or they're fans. For like the 2 weeks after, there's people like, oh yeah, well my fans were telling me about this, they wanted me to watch it, and they watch it and they're like, oh wow, this is pretty awesome, right? And then now you're getting people reacting to it who are like specific things about the movie, right? Whether it's the story, definitely a lot of people talk about the music, which I find, which is my favorite part. And so they're doing a lot. There's a lot of different facets that's starting to build around it, and that's how it's gone nuclear. To the point where I think it's a good thing because a lot of people like me who watched it were like, dude, they got to do a second, they got to do a two, they got to do a sequel, right? And how that is, I mean, I know again, I watched the interviews with the directors and the cast. Mostly the directors have said, especially the person who created, the creator of this, is that she has a lot of stories. She has a lot of stories that she wants to tell, and a lot of stuff that they can build off on. Like for me personally, like I said in the video I did last time talking directly about K-pop Demon Hunters, I do want to see the history of the Hunters, because I think that could actually be a standalone series on Netflix. Like they could, you could take this brand in so many different directions, right? I talk about this with gaming, especially with Xbox. So I've been disappointed with Xbox. They put out these great games that has the ability to be marketed in different genres of pop culture, but they never follow through on that. Or they do, but they don't really push it. Like for me, all the money they spend on stuff, they should really push that personally, right? Because once you get that and you build that core fan base, dude, they'll be there, right? And that's the people that you rely on. That's what drives it. That's what made K-pop so popular, dude. Like their fans are pretty hardcore, right? Especially when they're fans of a particular um, group or band. Okay, and so yeah, it's just, I mean, I could see them doing like a 10 episode series, hopefully 12. Them just focusing on the hunters themselves and the mythology behind the hunters. I said the same thing about what was it, Justice League. The one thing I loved about Justice League is the side stuff. And one of the things I love was the when Wonder Woman talks to Bruce Wayne and talks to him, explains to him about the old gods, right? The first group of people that fought off Doomsday, and then it was actually a culmination because they didn't have the heroes, right? I mean, they had some heroes in there, but it wasn't on the level of superhero, right? It was more mythology and stuff like that. And tied into Wonder Woman, that makes a lot of sense. So I thought to myself, man, Zack Snyder should put that on Netflix, right? But then he went ahead and did that zombie movie, which is fine. I thought it was very entertaining. That's in his wheelhouse. So I'd like to see that with K-pop Demon Hunters, dude. I hope they're really having that discussion. I think that's something that, because that's one thing that catches a lot of people in the beginning when it sets off, right? That's what they talk about. They talk about the history of the Demon Hunters, and you see a lot of, and then they start going through the century, the times. Well, I could say century, right? The centuries. I'll just say time. There's a time period, right, where they're showing all the different huntresses that were there, that was strengthening the Homu, which is the shield that they use, right, because of their voices and their singing, and building off of the fans' excitement and what they love about the entertainers, and then that gets put into this shield that keeps all the demons out, right? And so I think that's a lot of, when I see a lot of people talk about it, dude, there's a palpable buzz when it comes to that portion of this movie. I think if they're going to branch out, man, that's something they can talk about. And of course, the directors also talked about the characters themselves. And this movie really focused on Rumi, which makes a lot of sense. She's the driving force behind the movie. I'm glad they did that, dude. They didn't try to do a lot of stuff like you see other movies try to do that. One of the critiques I've heard about the new Superman is they're just trying to do too much things at one time. And it's James Gunn at the end of the day. I know that, but with K-pop Demon Hunters, I think that was good that they ultra focused, but still having the story, still having the world that they have there, dude. And I think that's the smartest thing to do, to branch out. Now, given it's so popular, I think they'll be able to do that. Hopefully, right? I mean, I'm telling you, man, this thing has gone nuclear. Like the cosplay kicked in about a week and a half ago. You got the tribute guys doing stuff, man, doing the dances, dressing up and doing the dances. You got these music people stepping in and breaking down the audio, the voice, the lyrics, the music, and that's what I'm talking about. Like this movie is multifaceted, and it's multifaceted and it can be a brand. And when you have that, you can do a lot of different stuff. But if you guys haven't checked out K-pop Demon Hunters, dude, I definitely recommend it. It's probably one of the best animated movies you'll see this year. Um, and I know that Disney puts out some stuff, man. I mean, one thing I love about K-pop Demon Hunters is, and why they needed to, is they need to keep other um, companies in check, right? When other companies see this and realize that it's not complicated, um, I mean, the process. To be fair, again, I watched uh, the creator talk about this, right? The director of the film. I mean, they put a lot of time and effort into it. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is the formula that they use and why people like it so much, right? And it goes beyond. And that's the thing I mean about that. Like, you could have just stopped after the first week, and then the second week kind of dropped off. It's still number one on Netflix. The last time I checked, which was yesterday, right? Because I was watching it again. And again, when I say watching it again, it's watching it to dissect it. It's not just watching it to watch it, which is not a problem either. You can watch the whole movie again. That's how good this movie is. And it reminds me so much of 90s Disney animation. When the Disney animated studios was kicking off and you had hits like Little Mermaid. I watched that thing so many times. Because I'm a huge fan of animation and I like musicals as well. Right? And again, like I said in my other video, dude, there's a lot of movies that can't hit this level when it comes to a soundtrack. Right? I can count on my hand um, a couple movies right now off the top of my head. And I think I mentioned it before. Like Flash Gordon, like as campy as that movie is, as old as that movie is, as kind of like I watched it with my daughter, and she got it though. It was kind of cool. She did get it right, but it was such a campy. Right, I didn't rewatching it again with her, right? But it's a fun movie. But that soundtrack, of course, Queen did the soundtrack for that, and it's inundated. Their music and their style is inundated perfectly with that movie. Yeah, from the title cut, right? Flash Gordon when they sing that, dude, and a lot of times, dude. I mean, it's just kind of a song that most people do, and they just kind of pass it off. But not Queen, dude. They went all in on it, and that's what you get from K-pop Demon Hunters from the jump. Man, yeah. What's the name of that? Oh my gosh, dude, I'm drawing a blank. But from the opening scene, right when the music kicks off, dude, it sets the tone for the entire movie, right? And you can see people when they're watching. Again, I told you guys I like watching these reaction videos. When you watch the reaction videos of people, you can see it just clicking all of a sudden. I know what happened with me and my kids when we watched it, right? You knew this wasn't going to be just another um, animated movie with music, dude. This is actually going back to the '90s when Disney used to do this stuff. Right? And that's why I hope they do it too. That's why I hope they keep on being ultra successful. Because maybe somebody at Disney Animation will wake up. Some people at Warner Brothers that also do great things. DreamWorks. We need to get back on track, right? And I don't know if we got that anymore, man. I mean, the generation of people that are creatives that are coming up. Um, I think we skipped a generation, and you have some people filling in those voids. I mean, if you look at it, dude, it's no different than the stuff that we did back in the day. I say that all the time when it comes to a lot of this content that I'm watching, especially from overseas country, man. They kind of been influenced by the stuff that we did in the West, and that's you can see it, right? And then hopefully we need to get back to that. And I don't know if we will be able to. Hopefully we will. But it's good to see. Again, I recommend this movie. Please go check it out. As far as I'm getting grief from people because of the content, because of demon stuff and thing like that. I mean, I'm just saying, look, dude, I've always been into fantasy and comic books and all this kind of stuff. And for me, it boils down to it's kind of like a what do you call that? Like the way I look at it. Okay, if I'm just being honest, it's just good versus evil. At the end of the day, now I get some of the concerns that people have, the way they dress up stuff, and trust me, man. When I was in my youth group, and I had a youth director, and he was really good, dude. He really opened my eyes to a lot of the stuff. And ironically, right, with all the stuff going on in the world right now, you see a lot of people kind of shifting more towards their faith. And there's some really great discussions, right? Because we're kind of like generations removed. And I honestly feel that a lot of times God will lead you, and God will make things known to you, and to the population. And there's some really great conversations out there, right? But when it comes to entertainment, guys, it is for me. Like if it's something that I'm sensitive to, like my spirit's sensitive to, I just walk away. It's not even a thought for me. right? To me, this is just popcorn entertainment. Some people will not see it that way. I get it, dude. And there's people making videos and people are coming at them. And I'm like, look, dude, if you live in a society where you want to get your viewpoint and have your thoughts, then this is what we went through the last 10 years, right? You give a thought and people try to cancel you, and I wasn't down with that at all, right? Again, if you guys know what you believe in, man, just be confident in that, right? Now, where you get your belief systems from, that could be a bit shaky, but I'm just saying, if you feel comfortable or confident in the things that you do, then roll with that, dude. I mean, I don't see where people can, like I tell you guys all the time, right? When I talk about things that are pop culture on the more pop culture war side, right? Whether it's about stuff that Disney does, because I'm a huge fan, and stuff like this. At the end of the day, man, it's about I know what I like. Um, if something bothers me, I just don't participate in it, and I think everybody should do that. And then again, this movie's not going to be for everybody. I'm not trying to say this is the greatest. I think it's the greatest animated movie in a long time, right? Just because of the content, the way everything's presented, the quality, right? But you might not be into these type of movies, right? You got to keep that in mind. Because I see some people like, oh, people told me this movie was good, and then when I listen to the person's complaint, I'm like, well, it doesn't sound to me like you're a fan of animation, musicals, or the main thing in here is K-pop. So if you don't like any of that stuff, then you probably won't like the movie. Is my point, which is fine. You don't have to watch it. Okay. So I personally love this movie. I think it's one of the best animated movies to come out in a long time. I look at this movie as being as being an animated movie that can actually get the industry back on course. If that happens or not, I can't really say. Hopefully it does, because I've been waiting years for a lot of these companies to course correct, and they just can't do it. At first, it was politics and ideology. Then we had the whole woke thing, and now what's being exposed is, um, if I'm just gonna be honest, man. People get mad, but I'm just gonna be honest. Is the lack of talent, which to me was the shield that they would use. Like some people would create something and then use a minority or a person of color or some kind of historical thing or some kind of political thing, and then when you would come and critique it, right, they would attack you for being pick whatever your phobe is, right? And then I would sit there and watch that. I'm like, no, that's not gonna work on me because number one, I'm old. Two, I don't care. And three, I grew up in a different time. You're gonna get this work, dude. If you expect me to pay money for yourself, and that's the thing that really surprised me, man. Because a lot of these companies didn't learn, but at the end of the day, you just walk away. That's what I do, right? Again, I didn't watch Thunderbolts. I have no. There's nothing in me that wants to watch it, right? And when people question me on that, like I'm just a hater, I'm like, oh, that's not even the original Thunderbolts team that I knew from the comic book. So why would I even give it the time of day? Right? Their writing has been trash, right? Their thought process on where they're taking the Marvel Cinematic Universe is suspect, right? They don't know what I just think they don't know what they're doing, and they're just throwing stuff out there. And then the people they got there, once all this woke stuff got exposed, right? Now the pendulum swung the other way, right? And they have no place to hide. They have no shield anymore. It really does boil down, especially now in economic times, dude. That's why people are like, that's why these companies are doing this, right? And they'll even get political. The companies will be like, oh well, Trump did this, so we have to let people go. When they probably wanted to get rid of the people anyway. That's the dirty secret nobody wants to talk about because you're not a productive person or you're not bringing any value to either the company or to the brand. At the end of the day, I know that's harsh, guys. That's why you always got to check yourself in these kind of situations, man, because you don't want to be that odd man out, lying to yourself, telling you that you have some type of skill or some type of talent, and then AI just comes in and supplants you. And that's a discussion for another day, guys. I'm not saying I'm pro AI. I'm just saying I just look at it as a tool. But a lot of these companies needed to clean house, man, and they use whatever means necessary. Like some of the like Walmart. Walmart came on and said, hey, we have to raise our prices because of tariffs. Has nothing to do with tariffs, man. Unless it's coming overseas. And at the end of the day, like the president sat there and said, you guys can eat the cost, right? And then they were like, oh, did you hear what the president said? But then when you look at their profit margins, that's what's everybody's jumping on Microsoft right now because they laid people off, right? And then they're like, oh man, their profits have increased exponentially. Now that's a discussion for a whole another podcast because we can break it down and talk about it that way. But I don't want to do that now. But at the end of the day, please go check this movie out. If you're an animation fan, I think you'll enjoy this movie exponentially, and you don't have to be a super hardcore fan of the subject matter. I see some of that coming out now, right, where people are critiquing people's opinions about it. I'm like, look, dude, anybody can watch anything they want to. And for me, if like somebody likes something that I'm into, then that gives the potential for it to grow, right? And so that's what I hope for this brand because that's what it's going to be a brand. I'm surprised I haven't seen Funko Pops. There's so much stuff in this movie that lends itself to be commercialized. Right? And then people get mad about that too, and I'm like, bro, it's K-pop at the end of the day, right? That's probably one of the most ultra produce stuff, and I'm not complaining about that, dude. I actually like that. I think we need to get back to that a little bit, right? There was a time in our own music industry where people were complaining about that, and rightfully so. Things were becoming watered down and popcorn stuff, and that's how the indie scenes popped up. Like the same thing with Xbox. That's why a lot of people say Xbox don't have this, Xbox don't have. Xbox is the only video game company, publisher, console maker, whatever, um, that's actually doing everything. Right? Whatever you want is on Xbox. That's why I don't listen to any of these guys because they're sitting here going, Xbox doesn't have anything. I'm like, no, they have everything. That it just tells me you don't have an Xbox or you don't play Xbox. I'm not saying you gotta like everything, but with so much stuff that they put out there, man, you gotta find something you like. That's why I call, I'm just like somebody. That's why I go all in. I'm like, dude, I don't think you guys are gamers. If you're a gamer, they got every genre. So a lot of the games now that are being produced they cross streams when it comes to genre. It's very rare to find something that's just this is why guys like me and Hebot and Sega Man do when a side scroller beat 'em up comes up, boom, we're there. Or in the case of Sega Man, he's a hardcore shmup guy, right? So he loves shmups, and there's still people making just shmups, right? It's just not like shmup RPG slash sim slash whatever. I like those type of things personally. Some people do it better than others, so I get it. But at the end of the day, it is what it is, guys. But yeah, definitely go check this out, and then we're going to switch gears because I do want to talk about. But anyway, sorry, just to wrap up. This is the big question: is there going to be a season 2 or sequel to this movie? I think so, and I think they can brand off. They can branch off with the different brands. Whether it's television series, I hope they don't do live series. Yeah, look, maybe I shouldn't say that. They might be able to pull it off, especially after One Piece. Right, my daughter's a huge fan of the anime, and she watched the live service, and she was impressed by it. I was impressed with the live action a show that they produced on Netflix. It was way better than I thought it was going to be. Love the characters, and I'm not even steeped in that lore. Anime is more my kid stuff. I'm very surface level when it comes to anime, dude. I love a lot of the. When I tell you guys a lot of the anime that I like, dude, it's more of the most popular ones. That's where I'm that level. I do dip down a little bit sometimes, and then of course having my daughter there who watches a lot of different stuff has actually shown me a couple of shows that I probably wouldn't have watched if it wasn't for her. We watched a show on Crunchyroll that was just puppets, right? And it was probably one of the well, I gotta find the name of it and I'll tell you guys. Highly recommend it, dude. Because the production value is solid, the story is awesome. Um, the design, everything about that show, and you sit there and it's a throwback for me, right? Because I grew up watching content like that, but not on this level, right? And I think the show is actually it's in collaboration with a Japanese company, but it's done in Taiwan. In fact, I believe the puppets that they use are actually Taiwanese, and it shows. It shows in the detail and stuff. But it's an awesome show. And so anyway, if you kind of have to keep an open mind if you want to experience this stuff. This is one of the things I think is also killing pop culture, right? Whether it's gaming, anime, any of that stuff, dude. A lot of people are coming in. They're casuals at best, if I'm being nice, normies, as I like to call them, right? And you need a balance at the end of the day. But I'm glad. Yeah, I'm pretty confident, 100%. Or let's do 99.9% confident we'll get a sequel. Because I've already heard the director talk about it. I mean, I don't know about the financials about this, right? And Sony Animation is on the tear. So shout out to them. Can't stand their PlayStation or their fan base, but when it comes to their animation, it looks like they're firing all cylinders, and I'll give them credit for that. So the next show I want to talk about, and the reason I want to talk about this is because I don't want to be one of these guys that actually talk about Western media and not give it its flowers when it deserves it. And I'm not saying that we don't have great stuff. It's just like that's not an interest in me. And in fact, like I said earlier in the video, it took my friend actually showing me this stuff. I think the other one, the other show on Apple, Murderbot, and they have this movie called The Gorge that I'm going to check out. But hey, guys, do me a favor, just stand by really quickly. I'll be right back. Okay, little intermission. All right, guys, we're back. Sorry about that. It's funny. I'm expecting deliveries, and the reason why I'll go downstairs and check is because the guys who've been delivering our stuff, whether it's Amazon, whoever they use, carriers, even the post office, they've been putting it at the wrong house for some reason. And the neighbor, like 2 doors down, I've gotten his stuff and he's gotten mine. So I actually took a package back to put it, knocked on the door. They were there, thankfully, and then I handed it to him. And the sad thing is that package was delivered like a day before, but I didn't check. I wasn't expecting any packages, so I was checking my front door. So I felt a little bit bad. It was nothing perishable. That's a good thing. Some clothing, and because they were like, "Yeah, we were looking for this," and I said, "Yeah, I don't know why they did that." He goes, "Yes." And so what they said to me was, "Yeah, because we get packages for you." So sometimes when I'm coming home expecting the package, they've actually got the package at the wrong house and they brought it up to my house, right, and put it in my front door. So I'm very cognizant of that now because I did order something. In fact, I might do videos on this. I'm just trying to get back on my health kick again. And there's a product called BPC 175, and I'm not sponsored, as you guys know, but I don't monetize my stuff, but I just to let you guys know. But I heard so much good stuff about it, and I have my own medical issues right now, so I'll start taking it. And I'll let you guys know, and then I'll talk about some of the digestive stuff. I did get Rise coffee, the mushroom coffee. I will say I do feel a difference. The stuff that I was expecting it though didn't really work out for me in that level, but I can definitely feel the difference when I drink that coffee. Um, but anyway, I'll probably do that on my channel as well. Maybe do like a health and fitness kind of thing. But getting back to the pop culture stuff, guys, really quickly. Again, can you guys see this? Hold on. Yeah, it's there. Now this one I'm going to share because I just got through watching. I just got through watching season 2. Now I've never read this book. I didn't even know it was a book. I just found out about it the other day when I was watching the episodes. And something dropped online about this is based off of a book series, which makes a lot of sense, right? A lot of stuff is based on something. Um, but usually when they have book series and stuff like that, you run the risk of it not being them doing the entire series. I've run into that with anime because I'm not hardcore manga. I've cataloged my stuff, my issues with manga, and it's not manga to me. Um, I'm trying. I'm actually getting to the level where I'm forcing myself to do it just to get used to it, and because I want to enjoy the stories. Because again, they'll do an anime based off of a manga, but they won't do the entire manga series, right? And so you have to go and get the manga to see what's happening. RPG of Blue Steel is one of those animes that I loved. It was on Netflix. Love the concept, love the premise. Some fan service in there. That's probably the only thing I knock on it. But with that being said, dude, it's just something else outside of the box, and I like stuff like that. Even in my gaming, I like that kind of stuff. I like it in my entertainment, my music. And they only did one season, and I was hoping for a season 2. But I did realize because my friend was the one that told me about it. I watched it. That and High School of the Dead was the two he told me about. And I watched both of them, not realizing that those animes were older and that no second season was coming, and that drives me nuts. Okay, so just wanted to put this up there because I did see it. Right, looks like they're gonna do based again on the book series. Looks like they're gonna do the full series and end it with season 4. And I'm talking about Silo, which has been a really great show for me. There's a lot of stuff that I'm watching right now, but Silo stuck out the most for me, and I think the reason why is because of the premise. I like post-apocalyptic stuff. You guys know I talk about this on my channel as well. I watch a lot of you know this post-apocalyptic stuff, but like the camping videos, right? Surviving off the grid, all these kind of things, right? Survivalist stuff. Prepper was a huge into prepping. In fact, I got my stuff downstairs, right? I feel like I'm prepared. Unfortunately, I live on an island, and that only gonna last so long, right? Looking at it realistically, right? But it's always good to have supplies and backup and understand the situation of what's going on or what could happen. And so this is why I'm probably drawn to shows like this. Why I like The Walking Dead. I like a lot of zombie stuff, right? Because at the end of the day, the stories actually revolve around the people and the situations. You got the world building and the mythology, and the stuff that's gone on before, and all of that stuff. This show does excellently. The only thing I'll knock it on, of course, is the whole. You guys know how I feel about. Look, dude, if you guys on my channel and you guys are, because I've been called anti this and that, and that's fine. And if that makes me anti whatever, then I'm fine with it, dude. I'm just not. I'm an old war horse, man. I'm not gonna change my ways, dude. Because but I will say, like they do the gay agendas in here, but it's not overly done, right? Not to the point like it was the last couple of years, right? We're just trying to shove it down your throat, and if you didn't like it, you were just like a homophobe. and people will come after you again, which I don't care. I mean, I don't monetize my stuff. If this goes away, if I got banned from something, I'll just go do something else. That's my life, dude. I mean, I have a lot of things that I like. That's what's good about being varied in your taste, right? You don't have to like stick to one thing. But I mean, just look, just a warning label for those of you guys that bother you. And like, I'm not saying I agree with it, right? But I will say for this show, it's not. It kind of makes sense in the story, right? And it's not like I will say that they kind of like don't focus on it, and what a lot of these shows are doing, right? Because they want to put that in there as an agenda thing, or they want to talk about it, or because they support this stuff. What they'll do is they'll string you in for the first couple episodes, and then they'll introduce it later on. And by that time, you've already kind of given your time and energy and investing in the show and the characters and stuff like that. But I will say it's not overly done. It's part of the story actually. But I know a lot of people, and I'm kind of the same way. I'll be honest with you. If I'd known, I probably wouldn't have watched the show. I should have known because it is an Apple produced show. They have the other show I'm watching, Murderbot, which is a good show. But they have some kind of weird three-way thing with some of the characters that are just like they don't like put it out there like in your face all the time. But if it does get that way, guys, that's why I usually drop and bounce. That's why I don't do a lot of talking about pop culture because I try and watch certain things, and then either the language is beyond pale, the sexual stuff in the content is beyond pale, and then the modernizing the stuff for a modern audience is beyond pale to the point where it takes away from the story, the characters, everything. But it's just like if I did a show, right, being a Christian, and all I focus on is sin, and like a lot of these shows are meant to entertain me. I say you can't do that, like what this show is doing. But when it loses its narrative, when it loses its focus, and we're just trying to preach to people, that's when you're gonna lose a lot of people. And then people that enjoy it, dude, people like that, they're like, yeah, they're standing up for this, whatever. I'm not one of those people. But I will say, so I just get that warning label. But with that being said, dude, the actual show is really great. I'm trying to get more, as you guys can see, and I've been accused of being hypocritical and stuff like that. Look, dude, at the end of the day, I'm just trying to be honest, and I'm just trying to enjoy pop culture. That's what this channel is about, right? And the way things are in our current society, it's hard. It's really hard, right? So I'm trying to change my channel to where I can not only inform, but give you guys like a better perspective of this kind of stuff, right? Like I know some of you guys, I know there's people that absolutely don't like it. I know people that just don't deal with Hollywood in general, and I can't blame them, right? Um, but at the end of the day, when it comes to Silo, dude, it has the main character. I remember her from other shows, mainly I think she was in The Greatest Showman, where she stood out to me. Again, you guys know I love musicals. Hugh Jackman. This is why I always, he's one of those original actors that can do a lot of different stuff. And I'm not talking about like how The Rock does or Bautista does, right? They just show up in different elements, and they do great jobs. Don't get me wrong, for the most part. But what I'm saying with Hugh Jackman, man, he can cover a myriad of roles, right? He can be Wolverine in 1 minute. He can be in something like The Greatest Showman. He can be entertaining people on Broadway. All of that rolled into one. 1 minute he's like out there putting himself out there as like a brand spokesman, and then talking about because he did this one series where he was talking about Korean food, got into Korean food. The relationship between Australia and South Korea, right, was pretty big at the time, and so he was doing stuff like that. And at the same time, you see him all ripped in Wolverine and Deadpool, right? That's the range that he has. This is kind of what I mean when I talk about range in general for a lot of entertainment people. Denzel Washington, one of my favorites. Tom Hanks, he's out there. Rather don't agree with him politically. But he can do that. Robert De Niro, don't agree with him politically at all. Okay, I think he's lost. I think he's become like a grouchy old man and needs to retire. But when you look at his filmography, it's amazing. But the lead in this movie, who plays the main character, and the reason I like it, dude, because they started off like there's some stuff in there that people would say would be woke, kind of like with South of Midnight, how people are saying that with the game South of Midnight. But when you actually watch the content, it's not. Right? It's just part of the story. And when you do that, that's what they should have been doing, because they might have an agenda, they might not have an agenda. But people don't have to know, and that's the problem with entertainment. It's in your face, and it's slapping you upside the face. And on top of that, it's very aggressive in the sense of if you don't like it, dude, they'll come after you. Right? It's been like that. That has flipped completely because people got tired of that crap. Right? Which is good, because at the end of the day, when it comes to entertainment, if you're not entertaining people, if you're not giving people something that they want to come back to, people will just walk away. And that's what these guys never understood, because it's not about the people in the culture war like I am with all this stuff. It's just the average person. And once they pick up about, like, they see that, right, that's when they start stepping away. And you lose them. Once you lose them, Marvel's experiencing that right now. They have a powerful brand. Disney is a powerful brand. But they've wasted it. They've wasted it. They still put butts in the seats. Again, general audience, right? They built that strong brand and stuff like that, but it's not the same, right? And they're at a level where they need to adjust, and they're not adjusting. I would not be surprised if they go bankrupt. I'm not wishing for that, but at some point, a part of me is like, well, maybe that's the only way they can learn, right? Because the Disney brand is so powerful, and the way Marvel came up in the first three phases have built a fan base that's so strong. Um, but it's not as hardcore, and it's not as strong as it used to be. That's definitely showing. One of the things I noticed, man, when the Marvel stuff will come out, a lot of the international, because I'm watching K dramas, I'm watching a lot of different stuff, and that's probably was one of the few things coming out of the U.S., especially that was very popular in Asia. I watched this documentary where they're talking about how the president, our current president, is trying to get Japan to buy rice. And look, there's a lot of things I think the president can do. That ain't going to be one of them. And he's going to tariff Japan. And I might actually do a reaction video to that because it's a Japan Explorer. I think he did it. Anyway, when I do it, you'll see it. And it's because I think it's great talking, especially for guys in pop culture and especially people in the gaming industry. Right. One of the things I think a lot of us get wrong about Japan when it comes to gaming is that Japan is very Japanese. So when we look at what they're doing and we're looking at it through our filter as Westerners or Americans and stuff like that, we're like, oh, we think we put our hang-ups on them, and it's not like that at all. Because they don't even think about us. If I'm being honest with you guys, do. We're like that obsessive boyfriend a lot of times with pop culture when it comes to Japan, and they don't think they're like that girl that doesn't think about us at all, or that boy. Right? It's all in our head, if I'm being honest. I'm not saying you can't like it, like some of the stuff that they're doing, or the fact that they are like that. Yeah, that's fine, right? But for me, it's kind of like it's time to move on with that. Anyway, that's a story for another day. But I found the documentary interesting. But if you guys get a chance, check this show out. It's one of the few shows I would recommend. That comes from us, and us I mean Western, as opposed to Asian or other countries, Europe, European. I should say, yeah, West American, because I think it's made here, right? I know Apple. I got into a debate with this dude online. He was trying to explain to me because the conversation shifted to what we give Japan that they like, and I don't know too many things that Japan likes from the U.S., right? Because we're trying to, the president is trying to get them to buy our rice and buy our cars. Like the rice makes sense to us, right, in a practical way, right? But they just love the rice, and I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I like Japanese, the rice that Japan has. It's kind of like if you go to It's kind of like if you go to Idaho and try and sell like if Japan tried to sell the potatoes to Idaho, that ain't happening. And nobody's gonna buy it, right? There's certain things that countries do, or even in the U.S. that states do, right? Like you see a lot of people, especially in Europe or overseas, that they're eating Texas barbecue and it's blowing them away, or they go to the South, right? When they get over their little, fears, right? Phobias about what the South is, right? They think everybody has guns is just gonna shoot you when they see you, or everybody's racist, and then they go over there and have biscuits and gravy for the first time, and it blows their mind because they don't have anything like that in their country. So for a place like Japan, that's how it is with their rice, in my opinion too, because I eat a lot of rice. Like the only reason I don't buy Japanese rice and I still buy American rice is American rice is just cheaper. And I grew up with rice being in the mainland, but also here it's about the affordability, right? And buying a big rice that's because we eat a lot of. When I was growing up, I ate a lot of rice, guys. Like rice, that's breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That's probably why I'm so small, quote unquote small now. But in Japan, they love their rice, and they're not really carb loading on their rice, not like we do here. At least not in Hawaii. Like in Hawaii, dude, everybody eats rice, right? So you have a big family, you're gonna buy that rice. Like once in a while, I'll buy the Japanese rice if I want to make something. Like if I get a really good cut of a sashimi, or if I get a really good cut of or a really good poke, right? I'll go buy Japanese rice and eat it with that. Make it for me and my kids. Just one of the small bags that costs like $20. I think it's like 35 now for that small bag. Everything has gone up. So, but sorry, I'm getting distracted. But again, we need to compete against these countries, and this gives me hope. Is my point, right? And again, to let you guys know, if you're a fan of Silo, like I said, I'm kind of late to the game, right? So I'm not trying to over here be like I'm an expert, like some people do on their channels. There's some gaming guys that are just irritating right now, but we'll get into that on the Gamepass part. But looks like they're gonna do the complete series, right? They have a story, and they're gonna finish it out. And that's the best thing I can hope for when it comes to these shows. That's one of the problems with streaming, right? You watch a season, and if they complete it in that season with like K-pop Demon Hunters, right? If they don't do a second movie, it's fine, man, because the first movie can stand alone, right? At the end of that movie, you can see where it can go in all these different directions, but that movie right there is enough, right? It stands alone. It is what it is, right? You don't have to get a sequel, though everybody wants one, right? Same thing with Silo, or Silo's not like that because it's based on a book series and they left a major cliffhanger at the end of the second season. Again, like I said, I'm catching up. I blew through season one, and then season two, episode one jumped up. I'm like, oh, I guess I'm that behind. And I looked at the episodes. So sometimes I don't do that, right? I just keep on watching. And I looked at the episodes and I was like, oh, I got two full seasons. So I just finished up the second season last night. So when I saw this, I was like, "Hey, I got to talk about this, right? Because this is good. This is a good thing because it looks like they're going to do now. Things happen, right? But Apple's a big company. We talked about this the other day. Apple and Microsoft, like they're on the next level, right? This is why don't sweat if you're or if you're gonna worry about Xbox or Game Pass or the Xbox brand, you should be worried about it different ways than what people are telling you right now. Because these guys are on that next level of financial superiority, if I'm being honest, right? They're on a whole another ballpark. They're not even the same league as the rest of the company. So that's another thing though. Like I put in the time to watch Silo seasons 1 and 2 because it was so good. I like this news. They're gonna do the whole series. They're gonna finish it out with 2 more seasons, right? Guaranteed, right? And unless something happens that's really bad, right, we should expect it. Like maybe one of the cast people are not gonna come back. All kind of things happen. Like for some of my K dramas, it's been like that, which is really disappointing. But that's how it is with streaming stuff, right? That's one of the things I do miss about the cable we had back in the day, right? They would have seasons and stuff like that. Something could get canceled, but you'd have a full season, right? And there was such a production piece behind it that everything was done in a certain formulaic way. That's why that's why a lot of these other countries right now, when they're doing that, they're just doing what we did, but doing it better. And so, highly recommend this. Great science fiction, post-apocalyptic show, characters. There are times where they just drag stuff on a little bit too much. I had that problem with Battlestar Galactica. I'm like, you can get to the point. But since it's streaming, if you want, you can fast forward it, right? I'll wait it out because it's worth it. And then they diversified on the second season. I think that's one of the critiques of the second season that I saw, is they started focusing on multiple storylines, and some storylines are not as good as the main couple of storylines, right? Because the hook of it is that these people live in a silo. Obviously, something happened on the outside, and there's tension within the silo because some people feel like they're being lied to. If you look at today's politics, right? Like they're being lied to, they're not being told everything. And of course, you have people on the top that are managing everything, and it's just the firecracker waiting to go off. And the funny thing is, like, you don't know. You don't know. Like the guys on the top could be right, or the guys on the bottom could be right. But at the end of the day, because of the interactions and the human element of it, that's what drives the drama, and it's really well done. But I do think, yeah, the second season they did kind of go with some other storylines that I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. I understand what you're doing, but not as interested in this. So, yeah, again, like I talked about K-pop Demon Hunters, they had a focus. They focused on that, and they realized you can't show everything. Silo is a little bit more highbrow, let's be honest, but they didn't lose. Like to me, they didn't lose the narrative, right? They kept it on point. And I knew why they were doing what they're doing. So that to me is just like kind of like just get through this and then just focus when it comes back to the story threads that I want to really focus on. Right? And then I'm not saying the other ones were bad. I'm just saying it's like okay, let's just get back to this because I want to see what's going on with this. And plus, I know it's 2 seasons, right? So the second season, I did feel that with a couple of the episodes. Not that they're filler, but they're like it's extending a little bit too long. And I know, like, okay, I know that's 10 episodes. So if we're here right now, that means I probably won't get my conclusion, which in the series or within the season, the second season. So that made me sit there and think, dude, I hope we have a third season. And I'm assuming it will. I mean, I know it's a popular show. A lot of people like it. So I'm like, okay, I'm pretty sure they'll have a season 3, but it would suck if they just ended it at 2 because they left some major things hanging, right, at the end of it. And that's the hook, right, to get you coming back. But sometimes these guys got to realize, dude, it's like it can be frustrating. But no negative, dude. I'm just some of the things I noticed about the show. If you guys haven't watched it, you have Apple TV. Highly recommend. You can check it out. They're not overly stuff on the language. They're not overly on the uh, sexual either innuendo or scenes. Like they don't cine porn it or HBO porn it like they used to do back in the day. And I hated that because you could tell like they're just putting it in to draw eyeballs, and it has nothing to do with the story. It's nothing. It's nothing art about it. It's just there to shock it all. And sometimes that can work with various things, but it was bad. I remember that. That was a bad time. I would rather have smart writing, good scripting, great acting, and the main character. She goes through a myriad of emotions. Like the way she starts off and how she's ended up in the second season. Man, I've been enjoying the ride. And again, for all the critique that's out there that people don't like strong women characters, no, people want a woman character, and that's be strong, that's be vulnerable. That's again bringing back K-pop Demon Hunters. That's why so many people like the meme. the main, right, which is Rumi, because of she goes through a myriad of emotions. She is a woman, right? And like if you guys watch a lot of the Marvel stuff, dude, all they're doing is making the women into men and then downgrading the guys, right? And then making the woman basically a dude, which I think is insulting personally. Right when I look at that, then you watch a show like Silo, and then you said, okay, they got it. Dude. She has to be strong when she wants to be. There's stuff they do in the show. No spoilers, but I gotta kind of say this. There's things that she has to do because she's kind of an engineer, right? And you look at her body and stuff like that. I like the look of her body because it shows that somebody, like if she's a female working in that area, she's not overly muscular. That's the problem with a lot of these people because they don't understand body mechanics. You know, guys, I've been in the gym my whole life, and just because you look big doesn't mean you're strong, right? And so she has that build of a person that's like that farm strong, right? Like I just watched a video recently where they showed these farm guys going up against these female power bodybuilders and lifters, and the farm dudes just blew them away. And it's not even a man. I mean, the man and the woman thing kind of has, like biology does matter, but these women are strong. But these guys are like farm strong. And the reason why I say that there's a difference, right? Because they do it all the time. So some of the stuff like the tire, they did a tire thing competition. These dudes are just flipping the tire because they build. Hey, dude, they have to handle animals, right? And if you've ever been on a farm, dude, and you're trying to, when an animal doesn't want to, people don't realize how strong animals are until you actually work with them, and they don't want to do what you want them to do. Right? I experienced that on the pig farm, dude. We had the Kahlua pig, and this pig was every bit of over 1,000 pounds. And this pig was being grown on my uncle's farm, right? And he was being made for the family reunion, right? And my uncle had done this years ago. So ever since this pig was born, dude, they've been getting him for the big, you know, for the big fiesta, right? For the luau. And so I remember, man, we went into that pen because we had to take the pig down this walkway, right, where it's gonna get hemmed up in this contraption. I don't know what it is, right, but it holds him still, and then somebody comes over there, gets a BB gun and shoots him in the head. And I was like, why don't you just kill him? See, I didn't know anything about this. So they shot him in the head because you can't kill him right away. And then somebody comes and knifes him, cuts his throat, and they have to bleed out the pig. That's the way that they did it. You gotta get all the blood out. I didn't know none of this stuff. I watched it. It was like, dude, this is nuts, right? This is when I was younger. And so, but the thing I realized is when we walked into that pen, it was me, man, I was every bit of 225, 6'4", 225. Like, I was in the military, so like, I knew what my body fat was. My body fat was around 6-7%. So I wasn't a small dude. And I lifted weights all the time. And so I stepped into that pen, me and my cousins are just about the size or bigger than me. And far as overall size and height. And we walked towards this pig, dude, and the pig looked at us. And it knew what time it was. Because the interesting thing is the pen, he was separated from the other pigs, but every day he'd see pigs being led down this ramp. so what ended up happening, dude, when we stepped in that thing, dude, he rose up, and dude, we were like, oh crap. And I knew pigs were smart. I didn't know. That's my first experience with a pig. And he just looked at us like, no, I ain't going down. And we tried to get him down, and we couldn't. And then he kind of went wild. He was knocking us over, dude. It's dangerous, actually, when I come back to think of it. My uncle's over there. They're all laughing. And then my other uncle, the oldest uncle, got mad, and he yelled to my dad, because my dad grew up on that pig farm, would help my uncle all the time. This is his mom's brother. And he worked the pig farm all the time. When I was little, we used to go walk there like about 5 miles every day to walk to this pig farm. And my dad would take me with him. And so my dad went in there. My dad's a big dude. And the pig tried to move, and my dad just rushed him and just kind of shoulder checked him into the wall. And we were like me and my cousins, dude, like my cousins know my dad is pretty badass, right? But then we're standing there looking at that. We're like, oh, even I was like, holy crap. And then my dad turns and looks at us. He's like, grab the legs. And he's like, hey, dummies, grab the leg. What you doing? Right. And then we have to run over there, grab it, and then lift. And that was hard, dude. Look, that is hard, dude. That's and the only reason I mentioned this story, dude, because that's what I'm talking about. Dude. That's the difference. The strength levels, right? And so when you watch this show, sorry, getting back to the show. When you watch the show, I like the build of the lady, right? Because she doesn't look manly, right? Or she doesn't look like somebody that's a man that they have to make into a woman, like a man that they dressed up as a woman for it to relay that message of strength. Like when she does things, you can tell she's strong, but she has limitations, and so she has to be smart about what she does in certain aspects of the show, right? Especially the job that she has. She works in the mechanical section. These guys run, so she's part of the crew that runs the generator, right? That's hard work, man. And then that environment and everything like that. So it made her a bit rough, made her a bit tough, um, and that plays out well, right? And I won't spoil it for you, but when you get introduced to her and she goes through the story where she's at now in the second season was absolutely awesome. But she never loses that about her, but you can see her evolve. Right. It's one of the reasons I love Captain America as a character in Marvel. Right. You see him how he starts off and how he evolves, and they respected the character's origins. That's what they do a lot in Silo. Right. Nobody's really out of character. It's like one of the characters in there is Common, and he's Common playing Common, but it fits. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's what I like about it. It's just like, oh, let's give him some angles, some that I don't want to say you can't make him, add some little touches to him and stuff like that. But you basically getting what you're getting, and it does, and it works, and it does, and it's done well. Dude. That's why typecasting is fine if it's typecasted properly, right? I mean, he plays kind of like the same character you see him in most of the stuff, but it works for the show, man. And especially when times when tough decisions have to be made, or he has to make a choice or follow an order and stuff like that. It really he really hits it home. Like when you look at his characters, like I can see this dude doing that. I want to mess with this guy, kind of deal. Anyway. But that's one of my recommendations, guys. Let's flip the script. Okay, this is going. Man, what time is it? Oh man, I'm over an hour. I wanted to do this in 45. You guys know how I am. Let's share this tab instead. We'll wrap it up with this. Microsoft spends up to $50 million for Game Pass titles. I've been seeing this going on around a lot, and there's a lot of titles they don't spend $50 million on, right? And again, the reason why you're getting a title like this is by PC World. PC World is they're like every other gaming. I don't think they're caustic when it comes to Xbox. Most of their articles are just you can just tell they read something and then just put something together to put it out there because they know going to get clicks, which I'm doing right now. But in fairness to me, it's something we need to talk about because the narrative and in the article, if you read it, I'm not going to read the article. Yesterday is probably the only time I do it because I was basically focusing on Paul Tassi and his craptastic view of what Xbox is. He's horrible. He shouldn't be writing about Xbox at all. Right? He's supposed to be reporting on the gaming industry, and he cannot check his bias when it comes to Xbox. Because when you read some of these guys' content, and because you own an Xbox and you play Game Pass, that they're wrong on all of this stuff, right? See, like IGN, of course, being IGN, Game Pass isn't hurting Xbox sales, so is AI to blame for layoffs, makes your console. The economy is to blame for layoffs, IGN. I'm pretty sure you guys went through the same thing. You guys are on a tether, hanging on a string, on a tether right now. A lot of gaming. I mean, if they, the sad thing about it, if these guys go away, we lose nothing. That's the sad part about it. That's the reality. Because the stuff they focus on and the stuff they talk about, most of it is not news, it's editorial, and they're getting their sources from everywhere else. And that's what's busting a lot of these people, man. The people that own the companies realize that because you remember that there's a big thing that came out that these guys aren't actually writing the articles themselves, and you can kind of tell the difference, right? Because when they write the articles themselves, it's laced with all type of politics and they wear their politics on the sleeve, right? So when you see them, you can tell. Like when you see them write, like when Paul Tassi writes something about, I know it's some writing because he has a certain opinion and outlook on Xbox, right? Now, if you just ran a standard article, it probably was AI. And that's where a lot of these guys got caught, right? Because these guys realize, hey, man, these guys aren't even writing an article. We're paying them to write articles, but they're using AI. And I don't think it's bad to use AI. Like, you have to write something, come up with your own thoughts, your own ideas, and you can run it through AI to make it clean, right? Like, if you, like a spell checker kind of thing, or try to organize your stuff better so you're not all over the place, kind of like my podcasts are. Supposed to be focusing on one topic and then switch to the other and tell a story about Kahlua Pig and stuff like that. So, but at least it's me, right? Like, I'm not AI, right? He's like, oh yeah, he's all over the place, right? So, but this is my channel and this is my video, right? And I'm not saying that's good. I'm just saying, right? There's no doubt about that. And so where a lot of these guys realize that these dudes are not writing these articles; they're using AI, right? And that's why the problem we have, even with politics, right? It was just the same thing. That's where people would take the YouTube videos of all the news broadcasts and it's just loop it all together, and they all have the same narrative because they all get their information from the same place. They all went to the same schools. They have the same ideology. They usually vote the same, right? So their viewpoint is just one way, and they can't step out. And that's the problem with a lot of the entertainment industry as well. People can't step out of themselves and just produce a product, right? Because everybody wants to tell their story. That's fine, right? But when the story doesn't make sense, and it's because you want to tell the story you want to tell, but it's nothing that nobody wants to watch, and then you get mad when people tell you that. That's a you problem. That's not a culture problem. That's not a fan problem. It's not a consumer problem. It's a you problem. and that's something they should have taught you already. But you probably used the AI to pass your course anyway. So, yeah. But again, bringing this up, Microsoft spends up to 50 million for Game Pass titles. Yeah, and they also spend a million or even less. Right? We don't know the inner workings of Game Pass. Right? The only thing we can do is kind of think about it, dilute it, maybe look at some of the patterns, some of the numbers and stuff like that, and come up with our own conclusions. But at the end of the day, these people don't know. The only people that know are the guys that work inside the guys making the decisions. And when I mean the guys making the decision, I'm not talking about just the Joe Blow that works there and comes out with, gets quoted in these articles. He could be right, but I doubt it most of the time. And all you have to do is, again, this is why it upsets me, right? Because it just shows me that a lot of people don't have an Xbox or don't play Game Pass, which is one of the reasons why Microsoft they want more people, so they're going to where the people are. Again, I get my thoughts on that kind of stuff, but I mean, it's their game plan right now. And again, like I said, you can just listen to some of the stuff they say. Like even this is such an asinine title. They spent 15 minutes. I think they probably spell more, depending on the title. For me personally, dude, if I think some of these games, it's kind of like Netflix from back in the day. Some of these studios started feeling themselves, and if they deserve, they need to be paid more. And I'm not. That's their content; they control it, right? But they realized that Netflix was um, getting more popular and getting more people, and they're like, "Yeah, we're putting our content in there." I'm like, "Yeah, but your content, it's like when Sega Man talks about certain games costing a certain amount of money, right? There's a reason why. Like comic books, there's a reason why Superman #1 is worth a lot of money. That's stuff that's beyond just to get it being a comic book, a rare comic book, or a good story, right? It has more to do with what happened during that time, right? And so some of these guys, these studios, right? They wanted to they wanted to make money, get their money from that, but to me, their matrix was totally wrong. And what it did was it forced Netflix to actually go, and I think this is a great thing, do original content. Because when you deal with these guys, they were like, one, you probably pay like maybe 10,000 an episode, right? And then these guys were like, oh, we want 1 million an episode. Because what they're going to do, right, is use that money to fund their other stuff, which is fine. That's their property, that's their business model. And then Netflix was like, no, well, you can pound sand, and then we're going to create our own stuff, right? And I think that was great for the industry, the streaming industry, because Netflix has come out with some great stuff that I enjoy. I mean, across the board, I can look at 50 titles off the top of my head that easily um, that Netflix has done and done well, and actually changed the game, right? Like they're invited to all the big parties now, right? That pissed off Hollywood initially because they are a streaming service and not a traditional service, right? But that's how big it is, man. They changed the industry, and the industry needed to be changed, man. These people are a bunch of martini swilling, elitist pieces of trash. Honestly, if I'm being right, they have a club. They don't want to include everybody in there, and you don't have to include everybody. But when it comes to content that should be there, and you don't want it just because they're not part of your clique, then you need to be taken out, in my opinion. Right? And that's what Netflix did, and Netflix overpowered them. Marvel did the same thing in the beginning, right? A lot of the Hollywood did not like these superhero movies, to treat them as a joke. Never invited them to the big parties, right? Made fun of them on several occasions, and then Avengers came out, right? Avengers 1, and then eventually the other form. But when Avengers hit, actually, it was Captain America, the Winter Soldier, and Avengers. Those two hit, and they hit hard. Because even though Thor: The Dark World came out, but it wasn't as big, those two movies alone kind of solidified it, and then the media got behind it, and not the regular entertainment media, right? They still hated it, but what ended up happening is spawned, because people will go where the content is, and the people report on the content, right? Like what we do. A lot of you guys will come over here because I talk about Xbox, and I have a certain angle when I talk about Xbox. And we're talking about Game Pass right now, and why these people are wrong when they're talking about Game Pass. And that's why I'm trying to inform you guys, because if you're an Xbox guy, Microsoft has a totally different perspective when it comes to what Game Pass. They're not just Game Pass or Xbox, their products, and there's a history of them doing that. I'm not saying that's going to happen with Game Pass, but if it does, you guys won't be surprised, because you have all these people talking about, is that they lack games, which they don't lack games, dude. I'm not saying they're as big as Steam, but they're trying to get there, right? They're doing all of these things, so when these people come up with this, they're wrong, and nobody checks them on it, except guys like us with small channels that nobody watches. Right? Again, I told you guys this is kind of therapy for me. I can come on and do these videos and talk about it. It doesn't have to necessarily be huge or big, right? But I know that people come here, right? They tend to be like me, and they bleed green, right? And they know this isn't true, right? Because they actually have an Xbox and they play their games, they buy their games, they're subscribed to their services, right? I know people that are just subscribed to EA, right? Still. right? And then they're more on the EA side, more of a general population type of thing. But you don't know this. The reason I bring that up is because you don't know where people are, wherever they are, and Microsoft is trying to throw this broad net out there to capture everybody and bring them into the fold. And I can't fault them for that, dude. I actually applaud them for doing that. I don't agree with the way that they're going as far as the console side, but again, one out of the many good things they do. The one bad thing I don't like of the many good things they do. But that's what drives me to do these videos. And so what people will do is they'll just go search out the content, and that's what ended up happening. And I know for a fact because when Marvel was blowing up, and you watch the mainstream media, there's just a lot of hate towards Disney and Marvel, right? And or Marvel, and then it became Disney Marvel, so it got a little bit of a pass, and that's what kind of crossed the streams and helped Marvel a little bit because there's Disney fans that jumped on board, and Disney fans are pretty psychotic. If you guys didn't know, some in a good way, some in a bad, but that kind of gave them a buffer, and then they started producing movies that people like. Now I know people in my friend group don't like it. I have issues with the movies as well, but the general population, let's put it to you that way. It's like why everybody plays Fortnite or everybody buys COD every year. Or Madden. That's the people you're dealing with when it comes to movies. And it made them, and they got them successful, and it birthed this whole area of the media that was more the pop culture geek media, geek and nerd media, right? Blew up because people will search out and be where they want to be, right? Like if you're not getting it from Variety or you're not getting it from all these other places. In fact, um, a lot of these productions, what they ended up doing was hiring people. It's something I can't stand when it comes to gaming because they'll hire somebody to speak about video gaming that is wrong, right? But they need that person, right, to draw views and stuff like that. And so that's what ended up happening. This whole media came up, which then got destroyed by politics, right? I used to watch. I remember when Collider first hit, and before Collider, I forgot what is it, AMC. I used to watch John Campea a lot, and I used to enjoy that on John Schnapp. I used to watch a lot of people, right? And then Trump got elected in 2016, and all that stuff went to pot, right? Because people have opinions, people get politicized, and it just ruined it. I mean, that's one of those things, man. That Trump derangement syndrome I talk about. This the same thing with Xbox and gamers and stuff like that. There's people on here that just can't see past the narrative or don't want to, right? They just hate Xbox, and that ruined the whole. Because I used to religiously watch these people, man. There's some guys I still like. I'm like, when it comes to movies and stuff like that, I think you guys are spot on, right? But a lot of times, dude, they wear their politics on the sleeve, and to me, it made them psychotic. And you just couldn't watch them because that was the most important thing. And then you find the people that you can still watch that are actually, and then you end up doing your own channel and making your own content, like I'm talking about it right now. It's one of the reasons I do the pop culture stuff because there's a lot of people I can't watch anymore, right? And because of my age too, because when I listen to what a lot of people talk about, I don't have the same interest as them because it's more current. Like K-pop Demon Hunters, there are times I'll talk about this kind of stuff, like when I talk about Cobra Kai, Top Gun Maverick, probably one of the best movies ever made in my opinion. And that's just on a production level, not just the story level, not just the acting and the crew, everything from the casting. Again, talked about K-pop Demon Hunters. Dude. There's a lot that they put into that movie. It shows the voicing because it's animated, the music, the lyrics of the music, the industry itself, all of that stuff rolled into one. They took all of that into consideration, man. And so, that's why I do these videos now because there's no place to go anymore. It's very rare. I found like a couple good videos where people get it, and you can tell they're looking at it from a perspective outside of just it's a good movie. They'll break it down, and it's because some people they'll break down stuff. I don't have a problem with that, but it's not anything I'm interested in, right? But then there's a couple of people I found. I'll post the videos on my X account so you guys can check it out. This one girl had a great breakdown of it. She does get a little political, right? But the focus of what she talks about is basically on the actual story and why it works, what the industry can learn from it. Kind of like what I'm talking about right now. It's kind of inspired me to do this video actually, because I wish I could remember her name. Shoot. I might do a hat tip video to this girl. I think there's some other content and stuff like that. I don't agree with her on. I looked at her channel, but I like. You don't have to agree with people to watch their stuff. In fact, most people don't. I don't agree with just to get an idea, right? I mean, because again, like I tell you guys all the time, man, you can't tell me what it means to like be a Republican or what it means to be a conservative or what is conservatism. Right, I don't have a problem with that. I already know, right? I like a lot of the times with the Xbox stuff, like I'm doing now, dude. I'm mostly ranting or like doing like the media blast video I did yesterday, just to get people thinking about, pushing against a narrative, right? And I'm fine with that, right? It's not something you want to build a channel on, most definitely, but it's something that I want to do. Because again, yeah, Microsoft spends 50 million. Who knows how much Microsoft spends? I just don't like if it was up to me, right? And then you have these studios there that are like, okay, I want to get paid for my stuff, which is fine. But if you're gonna overcharge, I just would rather them spend it on other stuff like they do. They have what 30 something studios, even though the story of the day was that Microsoft is dead and because they shut down 2 studios. And again, I understand the disappointment if you're looking forward to Perfect Dark. There are some fans. Some of the biggest complaints I've seen is from Rare guys who don't even own Xbox, right? In fact, they hated the fact that Xbox bought Rare, and that just adds fuel on the fire for them because like Xbox ruined Rare. And I was like, well, if you feel that way, I think Rare ruined Rare, right? Microsoft had nothing to do with it. Microsoft gives a lot of these people maybe in the earlier parts, Microsoft might have been heavy-handed, but I didn't see that. Right? Because people are like, oh, why didn't we get this game? Why didn't we get this? Well, ask Rare. Why didn't we get it? Sometimes, dude, when somebody wants to make something, they don't want to do the same thing. And that's one of the things you see with Microsoft, or that was the talking point with Microsoft. And I'm not saying, I should say talking point. That was what they were doing, right? That was part of the roadmap, right? They wanted these people to make the games that they wanted to. Obviously, when you look at stuff that's going on with the economy and Microsoft is focused, right? They're kind of like, okay, we don't see any progress on this, so let's just kill it. And that could have been from Xbox themselves, right? Like, I'm not saying, look, dude, I find it hard to believe that Satya's just sitting up there on Mount Olympus zapping stuff, right? He pays attention to what's going on, but he probably wants updates, dude. And if it doesn't meet the milestone, I talk about this all the time on the channel. If there's no milestone being met naturally, hey, what's up, Big Money? Sorry, brother, I was on the article. That great, that's great, doing great. I tell you. Yeah, you talking about Game Pass, brother? Xbox Game Pass is doing great in King of Gaming and Xbox. Yeah, 100%. I agree, Big B. Once you get past all the noise when it comes to Xbox, dude, if you look at what they're doing, if you just like Unlimited says all the time, just play your games and like, just turn off the media, turn off social media, just play your games, and you're like, dude, this is unbelievable. They just dropped a bunch of indie games as well. They do stuff every week, right? They got game sales on sale. I think I'll pick up Unpacking. I thought I bought it, dude. I gotta look at that. I gotta look at my games. I gotta go back through my receipts because I could have swore I bought it. Because sometimes, right, the game will pop up on the store, and it'll say for sale, and I'm like, oh, normally it would say owned. And then one time I'm like, no, I know I bought that game, and so what I did was I went to my library and I looked at the receipt, and what I did is I bought the original game, right, the game that launched, and the game that they were selling was like a fully loaded edition. So what I try to do is I click on the drop down, like I click on the game, click on the drop down, and it'll tell you, or it's supposed to tell you if you own it or not. But yeah, you have to be worried, man. You don't want to buy the same game over again just because you have a big library and you can't keep up with it. Right. But I mean, right now, dude, Game Pass, dude, and again, a lot of these people are just haters. You can tell they're haters, man, because who doesn't like to save money, right? At the end of the day, the only big problem Game Pass is having is competing with stuff that's necessities in life. Like, I'm sorry, dude, if you don't want to starve or if you want to play Game Pass, the starving's gonna win every time. Like, if your grocery bill used to cost $75 for a whole week, and now they cost $150, that'll bite into everything else that you have. And people have a lot of stuff going on, guys. That's the main problem, which none of these dudes talk about, right? It's not just Game Pass they're subscribed to. There's a bunch of other services subscribed to, and those guys get cut, and those things get cut too, right? People like don't eat out as much, right? The biggest thing right now is like you go out to eat, and then they every place you go, you have to tip. And I'm not against like $1.50, man, but when they flip that bad boy around, dude, the cost of the food, and this is something you guys need to pay attention to. The cost of the food could be double of what you used to pay. So they have that. Like something that used to cost me $9 now costs me like $17.99. Okay. For like a plate full of food. Now it's $17.99. So what they do is they tack in the percentage on top of that. So the tip is astronomical. And I'm like, you know what? I get it. You guys need to, you guys want me to subsidize your employees thing, right? But I don't think that's my responsibility. That should be on you. Work it out however you want to. The tip is a gratuity, right? It's like me thanking you for your service. And honestly, they're not. I mean, they're just making the food like we're passing the plate to you a lot of the times, right? A lot of these places, right? And they're like asking for tip. Like you have the tip jar, right? And then you walk by a tip jar, there's hardly anything in there. But then people will be altruistic, right, and drop $1 or $2. But now, dude, like on that $70, dude, it's like $3-4 on the tip, depending on the percentage, right? And I'm like, nah. So I stopped going out to eat to avoid all that. And that's something that these guys got to realize because some people don't. Like, I'm cost conscious of the way I was raised, especially. I'm cost conscious myself, right? So when I look at things like that, I'm like, no, dude, I just won't participate. That's what these businesses are finding out. They're kind of forcing the people's hand. Because there are some people that don't want to be that way. I like to tip, right, a gratuity, right, but I'm not gonna give. Look, dude, if my meal is like 20 something dollars, I'm not gonna tip you $7, $8. Because if at a sit down possibly, but it depends on what type of restaurant it is. And so for me, it's kind of like, oh, I see what you guys need. I don't want to participate in it, so I just step away, right? Because because at the end of the day, when I see that, I'm like, I don't need to. I can make my own food, and that's what I've been doing. In fact, because of the cost of everything, man, I'm like, okay, well, it's time for me to get back into shape. Like I've been eating a lot because of digestive issues. I know that sounds weird, but that's what I've been doing. Right? I've been like, I forced my digestive. I was forcing my digestive system to get on track. Fortunately, with that, I gained weight, but that's fine because I've been managing it. That's why sometimes when I talk to people about stuff, like when you talk to people about dieting, and that's why I'll do the health thing on my channel. There's more to it than what It's like anything else that you don't know the person's story. That's what I come across a lot of times. People are like, oh, you should do this, you should do that. I know I can't do. Like one of my friends is like, hey, you should do keto. Nope, can't do keto. Keto is good for you, and you lose weight faster, and you go ketosis, and he needs like, look, I know everything about keto. I did the research, right? And the reason I'm telling you I can't do keto, right, is I have a digestive issue, right? And just eating meat is not going to be good, right? I need other things, to vitamins and minerals. I have to supplement some stuff sometimes too, right? And on top of that, dude, I have to do inflammatory. So I can't. The part of keto that I like is like the fasting, right? Because it gives you time. It gives you time to get your body recovering, right? And so I don't have to worry about that. But everybody's different, right? Same thing with video games, guys. Everybody's different, right? That's the great thing about Gamepass. It gives you variety, and it gives you choice, which is the two things that these people never talk about. It's always about what Microsoft is doing wrong, why they laid off people, which has nothing to do with the Game Pass service. Overall, it could be because Microsoft could do it, but like I told you guys, Microsoft isn't in the same thought process as a lot of these people are talking about. This is something that can affect Nintendo or Sony. Sony's been kind of crying about it, right? Because they're going to bring their games over, I guess, but they don't really want to because they want you to buy their console and buy their games on their console. Or Microsoft is just like, we'll put our stuff everywhere, right? PC, mobile. We have a device now, portable. Now we're going to have AR, all this crap, right? And that's what Microsoft is doing. Which is fine, dude. Like they want to meet the gamer where it is. With Sony and Nintendo, they'll do that. In fact, Nintendo been bricked, but like you guys saw the news, they bricked the console. And I'll be honest with you, dude, that's their call to make, man. You guys should have held them more accountable when they were doing this stuff. If I'm being honest, dude. Again, it all boils back to and the sad thing about it, I mean, not sad. The reality, I should say, it's not because it's not sad, dude. If that's your console of choice and you've been supporting Nintendo all this time, that might not bother you at all. In fact, some people come on and say, look, dude, yeah, you should buy the hardware, you should buy the software again. Right. And so for me, like when I look at that, I'm like, okay, well, they're not gonna, I mean, if their fan base, the people that support them, right? Like for me, I'm like, yeah, it's probably not, they're never gonna own an Xbox, they're never gonna buy a PlayStation, they're just gonna stick on Nintendo, which is their choice, that's fine. But if you're a person complaining about that, that's the reality you gotta think about, right? Like COD's been getting a lot of crap. Like everybody's been like, oh, was that AKB deal worth it? Oh, yeah, it was worth it. In one single swoop, man, they killed Sony's lifeline, right? Because everybody Sony had that deal where they get all the stuff first, and that's why everybody would go on PlayStation. That's just the whole Xbox 360, Xbox One generation. When Microsoft or Xbox didn't get the rights to Call of Duty, they should have kept that, especially being the shooter box. Personally, that's my opinion, right? But they didn't, and so what ended up, it all shifted. Right, and so a lot of these, and that's what they were living on, dude, and that's why they fought so hard, dude. They were trying to block that from the jump, even if it didn't make sense. And the government, being the government at the time, they were just trying to get on board because Microsoft's a big corporation. That's what I talk about. But it's not about what's right, what's fair, what's reasonable, what's practical, what's common sense. It doesn't matter. The government, man, the government do whatever they want to do, right? And a lot of times that doesn't even depend on the administration. Definitely, some administrations are better than others. Don't get me wrong, but still, right? That's why less government is the answer, dude. That's like for me, I'm like, dude, you shouldn't even be getting involved in this, honestly. It's an American company by another American company. Right? And it's not like, and again, look what happened. Like Microsoft owns them and they're making money on them, but they're not dominating gaming. Right? Because there's so many options out there, dude. That's what I thought when you were first doing that. Like, how can you hold Xbox to a different standard? Right? If you're doing that, then you should look at everybody else. Right? Regardless of if it's a purchase or not, dude. And that's how you know it's all political, right? Because they didn't really care. Because if they cared, they would have actually looked at other like Apple on their Apple Store. They basically have a monopoly on there, right? And that's something that Epic and Microsoft's been complaining about. It's like, hey, dude, let's make it fair. They don't give us full access to their store. And I'm not saying they need to. I mean, it's Apple, but If you're gonna go that route, I can't stand that. I can't stand when people do things half-heartedly, right? Like they'll hold just certain people accountable, right? And I think what they thought was it was the soup du jour because they know in the gaming community, right? It is Sony, right? So they attached their boat they attached their boat to that hitch, and it didn't play out the way they thought it was going to play out. And plus, when you look at the law, thank God they got the judge that they got. Dude, that judge had a lot of common sense. Dude, she was asking all the right questions. And you had Sarah and the crew, man. They were able to push back, right? And rightfully so, dude, because they knew they weren't just pushing back just for subterfuge like people were saying. They actually know what they're talking about. They know the brand, right? And that's the good thing about it. So a lot of the people saying, "Is it worth that they bought it?" Yeah, it's worth it. It was worth it just to kill the money that Sony's got because we'd still be stuck in this funk because they still don't blame Sony for the AAA stuff or themselves. Like I saw the dude, what's it, RG, whatever. I didn't watch his video, but I saw his title, and it could be something like he's being facetious and stuff like that. I don't know. You guys can let me know. But I saw his thumbnail. I was right about the AAA industry dying. I'm like, bro, I've been talking about this for way longer than anybody I know. And I knew this like years ago as well, man. Again, I talked to you guys about this, the same thing like movies. Dude. When you look at people at movies and how movies are released and the actual marketing and the money that's made, that first week is everything. And that's kind of like how gaming came out of that as well. So to sit there and say, like, I predicted this, dude, if you anybody with a pulse could have predicted this, or unless you're like, I think he's a Nintendo fanboy, right? But if you're like a PlayStation fanboy or a Nintendo fanboy, right, and you can't read between the tea leaves, right? I think Xbox has a little bit more grip on reality because number one, we get assaulted all the time in the gaming community, or used to. Number two, it doesn't behoove us to be corporate shows, right? Because Microsoft is doing so many things all at once, and we have so many options and variety. Some things we'll like, some things we don't like. So we've been prepped for this. The console war nobody wants to acknowledge that's still there, right? Maybe it's not as nasty as it used to be. That's why a lot of these come by lately channels are coming out talking about this stuff, giving their opinions on it, stuff like Ebot said on the last video we did, Breaking Crew. These guys are only talking about stuff that he talked about like 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. Actually, some of the stuff he talked about was like 2013, and when he used to get invited on all these other shows, and then they kicked him off, man, because nobody could stand up with him, and then he got set up on a couple of them. So I feel sorry for my brother on that one, but and I don't mind that you're talking about it, man, but don't purport yourself to be like the. That's the problem, like I have with a lot of these guys, man. Because again, dude, if it wasn't for the bleed green guys, what did that one dude, Fat Gamer man, used to say? Can't remember, man. Xbox Strong. Like it wasn't for those dudes, guys like us that stuck it out. Who knows where we'd be right now? And that's not to pat myself on the back, dude. That's just the reality. It was not a good time to be involved in this stuff. And I'll go up and down and with anybody 100% on this stuff, dude. Because none of these dudes was around. And I know some of these guys are younger guys, so they probably weren't paying attention. But some of these older dudes that are doing this, I'm like, bro, you late to this ball game. You way late, dude. And I don't really care about your opinion, man, because it doesn't mean anything to me now. And right now it's shifting again, dude. And where are these dudes, right? What they end up doing is they either attack Xbox or they get very generalized about stuff or don't do videos at all. And that's the one thing, man. Like I saw that title by RGB, and I'm like, bro, what are you talking about? Maybe I should watch the video. I don't. I used to watch this stuff, but in the beginning, it used to be more about him being a gaming type person. But now anymore, dude, that dude's just I don't know, man. It's just like another show. Kind of got called out on it too. And again, dude, I can do my own videos. I don't need you to tell me anything. Sure, I don't make the best videos. I don't know. I definitely don't sound the best. This is probably the deepest you'll ever get my voice because I'm sick. Um, but I like to think my content is solid, right? And you guys can tell me if it's not. I'm not opposed to it. But again, man, enjoy your Game Pass, dude. There's nothing that has ever been like Game Pass. There's nothing that'll come after it. I hope that it takes over the world when it comes to gaming. I don't have the same problems that people have. Like it could be bad later on, right? If somebody else takes over and decides to make it evil, right? But for right now, dude, you can't touch Game Pass. Hold on, guys, 1 second. Um, hey, pass Daddy the. Oh, never mind. Oh wait, can you make me a glass of water and pass me the pills? The Mucinex, please. Yeah, the pills and the Mucinex. It's in the cabinet. Oh, sorry, guys. Hold on. Hold on, guys. I'll be right back. Please stand by. Intermission. Can you, yeah, can you just bring that and then a glass of water, please? Like just a small cup, the gray one that I always use. I'm sorry. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, you know, when you get old, man, things you don't recover like you used to, man. That's why, like I said, guys, I got that BBC 157. I'll let you guys know how it is. Now, keep in mind, dude, I have digestive issues, and so that negates some of the stuff that I do, some of the stuff that I utilize. But I'll let you guys know the down low, and then I'll bring more stuff about like my journey, about what I'm doing about this stuff, if it can help anybody. Because that's how I learned a lot of stuff, is by going online, researching, and going into these communities, which is a good feeling, guys. You know, like talking about the gaming community and how it is. You know, when it comes to things that matter, like health, right? People don't really care. Like there's some people that do, man, but the most part, people are just like, because it's the the rubber meets the road at that point, right? If you're having issues like I've been having, dude, and you feel the effects of it, it's always good to have a community you can talk to. Because I would go to the doctor, dude. In fact, one of my doctors, and the funny thing is she left, dude. I don't know, she left where she moved to the mainland. But she was basically one time she told me, I think it's all in your head. And the problem I have with that is I never went to the doctor ever. When I had knee surgery in the Navy, that was one time. But I would never just go to the doctor, or I would go to the clinic to get a sick. You know, when you have their sick on paper, they excuse from work. I did that. Oh, okay. So we got this. What time is it supposed to be?
Maybe like 12 or later.
Oh, it's right around the corner. All right, guys. I'm gonna wrap it up. Got some stuff to do. But again, man, don't let these do. Get the service. It's great. Like other people say, I say this too. You can have the service and you can buy your games. You get discounts on the games. A lot of times you can just wait for the games to go on sale in the Microsoft store. And I think that's what a lot of people are missing. Like if Microsoft folks out this money for it, it's an investment. And what they can do is they can manage the cost as well and access. Right. And again, like I said, it could be bad later on but the crew they have right there, they understand. And I know they're going through some trials and tribulations. Right. But right now, when it comes to Game Pass, dude, there's nothing better than this, dude. You can do whatever you want to. If you're a gamer, if you like to play a lot of games, play Game Pass. And one thing that I've always done, if I know that I'm going to like a game, I'll just buy it because I just know. Right. I've been doing this a long time. But for Game Pass, like the other day, like I played Expedition 33. At first, I played it on the cloud, and that was a mistake because I didn't realize how the reaction time would be affected. Right. Instead, I had to download it and play it. And then I realized after I looked at it, I just had to switch it. So I already downloaded it. I forgot I did. So I went and I played it, and I still have some issues with the controls. I'm just trying to figure out if it's me or the game. Like I told you guys with High on Life, is one of the things I dropped off on High on Life because the game was broken when I played it. Other people didn't have that problem, but it frustrated me. Right. Another thing I tell you guys about a lot with these Game Pass games, I'll download the game. They come from the PC side, and they're made to be played on PC. It's great to have it in there to try it out, but when I'm using the controls, if it's not working for me, that gets bounced as well. But the point being is there's a lot of games in there, and you have a lot of options. And then for the most part, you can either complete the games because again, you're paying for the service. I'm gonna keep on repeating this because the thing is that you're broke if you're doing this. Well, if that's what people want to say, and you want to, and that bothers you, just think of yourself as thrifty. And the reason I say that is because people are thrifty all the time now, right? Like I'm pretty sure you guys got app for McDonald's, right? And you're gonna go to McDonald's, you're not gonna buy that $10 combo meal, or where I'm at, $13, $14 combo meal. And then you got a deal like you buy one double cheeseburger, you get another one 50% off, but you got to use the app, something like that, right? Or you get a free French fries, right? If you buy two cheeseburgers, you get a free French fry, or free drink, or a cone when their ice machine is working, right? People do it all the time, right? And they're just not. But of course, that's not what grabs the headlines. That's not what people are talking about, especially in the gaming community. This is happening everywhere all the time. I'll do a video on here showing. And it'll be a hat tip because I want to give these guys credit. People that I watch that actually compile um, people's videos that talk about the cost of living, right? And why is it so expensive? And it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. So don't sit there and feel guilty, man, because everybody's doing it. Right? What you're dealing with. Hey, what's up, Vontae? What's up, brother? Oh man, too bad you weren't here earlier, bro. I did. I talked about K-pop Demon Hunters and even Silo, dude. I don't know if you have Apple TV, but check out Silo. It's actually a good show. I finished watching the second season yesterday. I just ripped through it. Um, but K-pop Demon Hunters, dude, that thing went nuclear. Anytime it starts to get diverse in the type of videos that are put online, like for example, you have like music coaches and producers, music producers actually breaking down the soundtracks, which I like. The reactions from a lot of the people have been great, and of course, it's expanding because you have a lot of these people. I said this earlier, but just to recap, a lot of these people, like their fans, want them to react on it because they watch them because of their reactions, and that's happening. Fonte says, "Couldn't get into Silo when I watched it before. I might try it again." Oh, okay, okay. I mean, for me, I thought it was like they did a really good job. I didn't think it would be as good. Oh, dude, the bird just hit the window. My neighbor's window. That's still alive though. Oh, is it because it's a slow burn for you, Fonte? What was the problem? Because I mean, I liked it from the jump. I like the, but again, I like post-apocalyptic stuff. And then I watch a lot of prepper stuff and zombie stuff. And I like the dynamic of the silo and the people that are in the silo and how they deal with each other. The stories that come out of that. Yeah, I mean, if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't, man. That's no problem. But there's shows I don't like, and I just move on and watch something else, right? Because it's all about the time for me, not just the money, but the time. Actually, it's more the time. Like I was playing, what was I playing yesterday? Still Steampunk. Um, it was on Gamepass. I was wanting to play it. I downloaded it, and then it was only like a couple gigs. Downloaded fast, and I started playing it last night. And it's one of those simulated type games that I was playing, and I was like, "Ooh, I thought there was another component to this, right?" And the component I thought it was going to be like more of an action thing, and I think there's parts of it. I think this is the game my friend was telling me about. But right from the jump, it was a simulator, and I'm already playing Mines of Moria, right, or Return to Moria, and Moria is kind of like that. There's the action elements to it, and then there's the simulator, the building. Right. So I was like, oh, okay. If it's more on the sim side, I'll maybe put it on the side for now because I got so much stuff. Like the serial cleaner one, that's a great game. I loaded up Tomb Raider. To be honest with you, I already own the game, and I loaded up Tomb Raider. That's the second one that came out a couple years ago or several years ago. And the reason I loaded it up because it was on there, and I needed something to play to finish out my thing. But when I was playing, I was like, dude, I forgot how good this game is. Like they put a lot of good production value to that game, and it's unfortunate what happened with the series. And again, that's what I was talking about earlier, man. It's like that's the hate that Xbox has to deal with, um, and it sucks. It sucks because it shouldn't be that way. And again, if you purport yourself to be a gamer, man, you should have Game Pass. You should have an Xbox. Right? There's no reason not to if you like to play games. Hey, what's up, Sega man? What's up, brother? Yeah, thanks, man. I'm not feeling too good. So I just took some medicine, dude. I can't lay down because man, I got like congestion really bad. But yeah, dude, last night, dude, I had to sleep like on the couch. I fell asleep on the couch because when you lay down, dude, you're congested, dude. It just builds up right in your throat, and it sucks, dude. It sucks. I'm trying to drug up now and get past it, especially by Monday, man, because I gotta go back to work. In fact, it's the weekend, so I'm gonna stop by my workplace because there's some stuff I want to put away and pick up, and nobody's there, so I don't feel bad about corrupting anybody. In fact, what I'll do is I'll wipe down my station to make sure that the germs are dead because we do have. I work at a hospital, man, so we have all the cabby wipes and stuff like that. Just gotta wear gloves when you use it, but sterilize my area because I don't want anybody else to get sick because this sucks, dude. And it's hard nowadays, man, especially at the job I'm at, dude. They want everybody to come in. It'd really help if we could work from home, but that's not an option anymore. And not for me, like for other people as well, because they could just stay home and not be worried about getting sick by other people. And people like me who have to go in because that's part of my job. I have to be there physically. Other people don't have to. But thanks, brother. Thanks. Appreciate it. And thanks for being here, man. I'm probably going to bring the Wrecking Crew back on Friday nights, man. I'm probably going to start doing that. And I'll do the pop culture stuff now because I got some stuff I actually talked about, right? Unfortunately, I can't talk about Superman, guys. I did not see it. I probably won't watch it. I'll talk about it when I watch it. Probably when it hits digital. But man, the reviews and the commentary is all over the place. But the one cool thing about Superman that I heard is everybody says, or for the most part, most people, I say like about 95% people say it feels like a comic book movie. Now, the level of what that kind of comic book movie people are kind of fighting about, again, like I tell you on this channel, Superman is such a generational character, so they can pull stories from any generation with Superman. And it's interesting that James Gunn did a lot of pulling from different generations of Superman. But I guess he did kind of fall into the silver golden age. I know that Crypto's in it. I think they went with a more classical Lex. The only problem I hear people say is that it feels like it's all over the place, right? And that's look, and that's a James Gunn style. Again, this is what I said on the other video I did, dude. I was just kind of worried about James Gunn. He fits certain characters, like Bryan Singer. He fits certain characters and story types and archetypes and stuff like that. But for me, James Gunn probably not the best pick to do Superman, or at least the Superman I like or would like to see. But I don't know, man. It's not like a bad negative, right? It's just like a people share their opinions, and I can deal with that, dude. Like I think we're starting to get back to good when it comes to reviews. Vontae says, I don't even remember why I stopped. I think it was because I watched C right before it. So I was comparing it in my brain. Yeah, I tried to watch C, that's my boy, Jason. But it was such a I mean, and it has nothing to do with the show or Jason as an acting. It was kind of a little bit too far afield for me. Because I seen him in one of my favorite movies with him is Frontier or TV shows. It's on Netflix. Go look up Frontier, where he plays like a half white, half Indian character. He's a Native American character, and it fits, dude. He like it's the frontier, right? They got all this stuff going on, um, and it has some really great characters in that show. And so, if you guys want to watch a good show, so I know he's gonna do like the Chief of War, which is focused on the history of Hawaii, the islands here that I live in. And I don't know, dude. I seen the first trailer, it seemed okay. Like, I mean, I was kind of like, oh yeah, cool, I'll check it out. Then they dropped the second trailer, which I might do a video on that. It just kind of like I don't know where they're gonna go with this. To me, I thought they're gonna be a little bit more serious, kind of like Shogun just came out, the new Shogun, and it's been doing so well. And I think they handled the history of that storyline a little bit more seriously. When I look at Chief of War, and I could be wrong, they're gonna touch on a lot of different elements, like the mythology as well as the actual history. And that could be all over the place, right? And I'm fine, dude. I'll check it out. Dude. I have no problem watching it. I have Apple Plus or Apple TV, so I gotta watch something. Like I said, I gotta watch The Gorge and then Killer Bot or Murder Bot. Right? I'll try and finish that. There's another show on there that I want to watch, but and then a couple K dramas that Disney Plus did that I heard are really good. Um, yeah, but I feel you, Vontae. About this, I saw it. I very much liked it. Oh, you watched Superman and you liked it. Right on, man. E-Rock and Unlimited are the DC guys in the group. Hopefully, they get to watch it, get their commentary on it. And this is not for me, guys. It's not a Marvel versus DC thing. That's dead to me because Marvel's kind of dead to me. And but what it is just that it's a money and a movie thing, right? So like, okay, do I want to spend the money to go watch this movie, or I just wait for it to come here on digital? Plus, I got other stuff I got to focus on too. So I'm glad you liked it, Vontae. I hear positive and negative. Some people I thought that wouldn't like it, they actually did, and they talked about it, and I was like, "Oh, that's cool, man. If you like it, you like it." Vontae says, "It didn't really feel that way to me, but then again, I wasn't watching to analyze. I was watching to enjoy the movie. I'll probably see it again tomorrow and actually try to critique and analyze." Oh, okay. Yeah, let me know, man. Let me know. Definitely, dude. That's what some people don't realize. Like, again, for K-pop Demon Hunters, bro. A lot of people are rewatching again, and looking for analyzing it now. Like I said, some of the reaction videos you see out now, specifically dealing with certain parts of the movie, and a lot of it right now, the parts that I like is when people focus on the music. There's this one channel that I watched their reaction, and one of the girls on there, you can tell she knew her K-pop, and she's kind of breaking it down for her friend who also likes K-pop but not as hardcore as her. So she was explaining a lot of the behind the scenes stuff that she knew, and she could speak it up about it intelligently because she actually is a fan. But I mean, like when I watched it, I can kind of get like where the influences are coming from. I did not know that they actually had the actual producers working on the movie. Like one of the biggest producers, at least from the generation I grew up listening to K-pop, is this guy Teddy, and of course, yeah, when you listen to a lot of you hear people talk about the music, especially the first song. It's like, oh, that seems like Blackpink, and the girl actually took it to the next level. She said, oh, it sounds like Espo, right? And so I don't know too much about Espo, guys. I'm older now, so but I definitely know Blackpink because they're so big, right? They like 2NE1 is like I know more about 2NE1 and Blackpink, same company, right? And then Blackpink blew up, and they just went they picked up where kind of 2NE1 left off, and they picked up. If you guys want to be interested in just the industry aspect of it, that in itself alone is interesting. I mean, even for me, even more so than the music now. I'm not saying the music's bad, but the industry stuff, right? Because I used to, yeah, I'm a product of. I'm an old guy, guys. I'm a product of that generation when you had record labels that were powerful. You had record moguls. You know, getting a signed contract with a record label was huge back then because of the promotion, all the money they invest in you, and then hopefully you become a megastar, right? And you have that now with K-pop, even though it's for the more digital age, right? I'll definitely say that. But when you grew up in my generation, dude, it was about the vinyl and the 8 track and the cassette tapes. Um, Going to the actual music store, right now everything's at your fingertips. So I know something gets lost in translation, but when it comes to Korean popular music, man, it's a throwback, definitely. That's why I like it so much. Which is kind of sad. I mean, it's not like I don't like the songs. It's just it's interesting. That's why the industry is interesting to me because it's like again, it's nostalgic for me, right? When I see some of the stuff that they're doing, right, I'm like, oh man, I remember. Like, but if you guys know who Kiss is, if you guys are, I know some of you guys are not as old as me, but there's this band called Kiss, right? And a lot of the theatrical stuff that you see, especially with the K-pop stuff, and theatrical as far as performance, not theatrical like the full grand scale of stuff, right? That's the throwback to those times, right? Where it's big, it's bright, it's loud, and not loud as in just noise. I'm talking about loud. Everything is bigger, bigger, brighter, right? Bigger, brighter, better. So when I was growing up, they had a band called Kiss, man, and they were very theatrical with their performances, right? That's why a lot of people went to go see them because it was this one of a kind experience. Alice Cooper is another guy, right? They're older now, right, and it shows. But Kiss was cool, man. They're like the first band I remember wearing makeup, right, looking like superheroes. And again, that's kind of my wheelhouse, right? That fantasy stuff and superhero stuff. And so he had like what's his name, Star Child, Paul Stanley. Then you had the demon dude, right? Gene Simmons, which I don't think he was a demonic. He played it up, right? Like Ozzy biting off fat hits. Wouldn't recommend that, but I'm just saying, right? That was just what they did. And then if you flash forward to now, definitely a level of polish when it comes to K-pop, dude. But it still has that DNA in it, right? Because at the end of the day, they're entertainers, and that's why I think it's so successful because they don't forget that, right? They're there to entertain you, right? And they're very tactful. They're very humble. I think there's a sheen on K-pop, and it's very corporate, and I don't mind that either, guys. I don't. That doesn't bother me at all. I'm old school. Um, but this is where you get some of the controversy from, right? When these people are just acting normal, right? But a far cry from our industries, right? Where somebody does something stupid, is usually like they're drunk and then they wreck their car and they're in the hospital, right? And K-pop is like, oh, did you see her? She sat down and she didn't cover up, like her skirt is short and she didn't put the pillow or the thing. Or they have like there's this one where the boy band was with the girl band and the girl sat down and she was self conscious. You see her kind of like trying to fold and she's uncomfortable. And then the dude stood up and took his jacket off and like covered her knees. And that's another thing about when you watch the movie, there's a level of romance and flirting and stuff like that goes on that you don't see in a lot of our stuff, man. Our stuff is just, dude, they just hook up and it's, look, dude, my grandma told me something a long time ago about this kind of stuff, right? It's in the 80s when all this thing was, Motley Crue and all these people was coming out. They came out with a song called Girls, Girls, Girls. And, it's basically selling sex. And I remember my grandmother saw, because it was on the news, and she saw that. She was what a waste. And I said to my grandmother, what are you talking about? She's like, when she was growing up, dude, she talked about this lady that was in the bar where she was, and what she'd do, she'd come up. She was fully clothed, right? And then she'd take something that looked like the moon, like this big thing shaped like a moon, and she would dance on the stage. And then what she would do is, she was kind of lift the moon, that moon thing up where she's dancing, and then you can see her leg, right? And then all the guys would be like, oh. And the thing that she said to me was like, the anticipation and stuff like that. So when you watch this movie, that's what you kind of get out of it. You get that back and forth. So there's a lot of stuff you get in this movie. It's really well done. Oh, sorry, Vontae. Let me get this. I saw it very much like it. It didn't feel that way to me, but then again, I wasn't watching to analyze. Oh, okay, I read that one. Sorry about that. Vontae says Teddy worked on the music. Actually, that makes a little bit of sense now that I'm thinking about it. I heard some Blackpink sound in the music. Yeah, definitely. Even the director talked about it, and in fact, she kind of called herself out because she's older. So she's kind of writing from the music of her generation, but you can kind of transition easily. In fact, I think one of the best things I like about the show is when they show the different generations of the Huntresses, right, which fits into the musical generations of Korean music. Uh, Whether it's trot, pop, just their different things, and they went through those time frames, which I thought was super cool. Like the way they started off with the first Huntresses, and they're definitely more traditional of that dynastic period, which I think was cool. But yeah, that's what the girl said, and then when listening to the director, and then when they broke it down, it's like when they did the soda pop thing, I thought it was more like BTS. And then one of the girls said, it reminds her of Shiny. So the girl was kind of telling her age, right? Because Shiny was popular back in the day. And so, well, not even back in the day, but several years ago, right? And I saw that, and I'm like, oh, I never thought about it that way. They do seem like Shiny, right? And BTS, of course. When you see the song at the end, what's it called? Dang it, the one where they're actually in full demon garb, right? And then they showed that video or that song, and a lot of people was like, "Oh, dude, EXO, it's like totally EXO." With the moves and the style and stuff like that. The camera angles, bro. The camera angles they use was untouchable. That's what I mean. Like I'll do that video and I'll put the director on blast because you can definitely tell it comes from her, right? Like when you watch Captain America: The First Avenger, that's in the direct. Joe Johnson is the guy who directed that, and it's definitely in his wheelhouse because he did Rocketeer, one of my favorite movies of all time, and he took that formula and he put it into Captain America, and it worked so well. So that's what I'm talking about. Like this lady, and then she talked about like working with Sony and how it was a great experience. Sony Animation was a great experience because they didn't like make her do something she didn't want to do. Like they were there to support her the whole way, and that's why the movie turned out as so well. So like everything you can tell is coming from her, like her creativity, her experiences, all of that stuff. When people talk about this, especially the last couple of years, like I want to share my experience, I want to share my story, and it's just trash. Like you can tell, like when you watch this, dude, you can tell that's a part of her. That's indisputable. But yeah, so that's what the girl I listened to said, and it doesn't surprise me because the age of the person that created the movie, that's definitely their generation. Like I'm definitely like second generation. I know some of the first generation K-pop stuff, but I'm more second generation, right? When it hit, especially when I moved back to Hawaii, right? It was big, and the only reason, and one of the things that people told me was like, "Oh man, it's like you have yellow fever." I'm like, "No, dude, it's very '90s. The tropes on the music and stuff. It's very '90s oriented, man. There was a time in the '90s, dude, when hip hop and R&B soul, R&B and R&B soul, dude, was just hitting, dude. Like you had, I don't know, just talking about Boys to Men, man. I'm talking about Soul for Real and TLC and man, I'm drawing a blank, dude. But all the groups that was coming out at the time, Escape, of course, Biggie. You had all these groups that were hitting, man, and it just took it to that next level. And that's the same thing when I came back here. That's what happened with K-pop because K-pop was kind of like their first generation stuff, especially. Right, I think in their second generation, the music that came out was just it was they made it their own, and that's what I think the difference is. And Teddy, dude, like you said, Teddy is very talented and respected. Um, and Blackpink is huge, man, internationally, right? So that's why when some of the celebrities like they do stuff, like some people are upset about it in South Korea, they actually have a buffer because they're so popular internationally. And that was one of the things I saw like a couple years ago, that clash between South Korean K-pop fans and international K-pop fans. I just stay out of the thing, dude. I'm just there to observe. I have my opinions on it, but um, Fonte says this current discourse around Unbi is a classic example of these younger fans not understanding the industry. Yeah, or even in the movie side too, Fonte. On the movie side, um, Kim Se-ron just passed. Um, committed suicide, right? And that's that societal pressure that was on her because she messed up, and her look, dude. Again, we're Americans, right, dude? When people mess up over here, dude, it's a whole other level, dude. Than what happens in South Korea. And I'm not saying that she didn't, that she can, that you're not supposed to hold responsibility. I think she did. She did apologize. People didn't accept that though, and all that pressure came on her. She tried to come back, and she's one of my favorite actresses. I like this girl ever since she was in this. What's it called? Heaven's Gate, Heaven's Garden. one of the first K dramas. No, well, not the first K dramas. One of the K dramas I watched when I was heavy getting into it. And she like for me when I watch a show that's and if somebody sticks out to me, I'm stuck on them. Right. Like the first time we seen when the first time I seen like I'm a huge Denzel fan. So when I watched Glory for the first time, dude, that one scene, dude, when he's like being whipped, but then when they pull this when he pull his shirt off, dude, he already has the stripes. Right. And that look that he has, dude, ever since then, dude, I was like, oh, this dude is amazing, man. Like he's a great actor. I mean, the subject matter not so great, but you know what I'm saying? The way he was able to portray that in that character. And once somebody grabs me like that, dude, I'm a fan. And that's the same thing with this girl. She had this little girl acting along people at the time. The actors that they had in this show was very popular, and they were known in that industry. And then she steps in as a little girl and just kills it. To me, I was like, oh man, you know, anytime somebody makes me care about their character, I'm like, oh, right, you know, good on you. And so I followed this person's career, and then she has some ups and downs. I hate to say that I kind of fell off a little bit from her, and then unfortunately, the last thing I heard, man, she passes away, and she committed suicide, right, because of that pressure, right, that societal pressure, and that's sad. That's sad to me. It's just, you know, that should never be a thing, right? And that's like when you look back at our own industry, like somebody like a Robin Williams, right? Robin Williams is a talent genius, but same thing like Jim Carrey. But I always worry about those guys because when you look at them, dude, they're so talented and they're so either or spectrum, dude. That you know that they have these big momentous highs and then they have these low valleys, man. And that's where you need a good group of people around you to help you during those times, man. And unfortunately, for some of these guys, they don't have that. Unbi is the girl from Avante. Correct me if I'm wrong. Unbi from Produce 101. That Unbi. Dude, if you would have told me she would have blown up like that, I mean, I know she had some star power when I watched the show. In fact, I still go back and watch the clips between her and Sharon. Um, the battle between Wu Lim and WM. That I still love those clips, and I go back and watch it. But if you'd have told me she'd have blown up like she did, I think you're talking about Umbi about the outfit she had. Was that at the summer special thing? You know what we need to do, man? We need to bring these guys over here and then watch some of our American stuff, dude. I mean, booty hanging out and half naked just bouncing on the stage. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that's right. What I'm saying is to help give them perspective, like I try to do on my channel with some of these videos. Hey, what's up, Prime brother? Yeah, bro. Hey, dude, I checked out your videos, man. Just checking you out on Instagram, man. Let me know, dude, if you want to jump on. I can. I'll do this pop in the morning. Working crew. We're gonna go back to Fridays. I have you on Instagram. I mean, yeah, on Instagram. I'll just send you the link. Again, one of the problems is like something will pop up and I don't do the show, and then I do it all in chat and stuff like that. But you know what I'll do? I'll just do that, so you can jump in, man. Always want to hear your perspective, bro. Hope you're doing okay, man. You know what I'm saying? You know, you got us over here. You know, you got the crew. I know some of the guys were busy and stuff like that, but never, yeah, dude. If you ever have to reach out, man. In fact, if you want to do a podcast, just let me know. Just me and you, we can, and just talk about whatever you want. But good to have you here, brother. I really appreciate it. Fonte produced 48 and iZone. Yeah, that's what it was. iZone was pretty good, dude. There's a couple songs that I thought was really well done, especially considering how many people were in that group. And it's amazing how all the people in that group kind of transitioned to other groups. Right, like who's in like Le Seraphim has like what 3 or 4 of them, and that one girl, man, she blew up, huge. That's what I like about like K-pop. You know, I hate to say this, Vontae, but when I look at K-pop now, I mean, I do listen. Like it is about the music, but it's almost like a superhero team, right? Back in the day when I used to read comic books, like when Rogue first showed up, dude, like she was a lot different from the character that became popular after Jim Lee got a hold of her. And that's what you like to see, dude. You like to see somebody come off in the background or somebody's talent really get exposed. You hate to see the bad stuff, but they tried to bring Waterbomb over, but the company handled it terribly and they canceled it. Oh yeah. I feel like when they come here, like if you look at Twice, like I see their concerts online, and so when Twice does concerts in certain part of the countries, they'll like when they come to America, they're definitely more provocative in their dancing and stuff like that when they come here. I mean, look, and again, just to let you guys know, man, because some people look at this stuff and go, dude, they're like little kids. Or I look, dude, that girl is 27, and I'm not saying, and that's not what I'm looking at it for, guys. I just love pop culture in the industry. That's more of my drive now. And their songs are catchy and infectious, dude. And these girls work hard. That's why I support them, dude. Ever since Wonder Girls, man, they are put through the ringer to get to the level at which they are. Um, I mean, this is it's hard, dude, and they gotta put out and they gotta show out. And you know, if you don't make the cut, dude, and that's all of it's done. You know what I'm saying? So I try and support them as much as possible. And but yeah, man, Twice goes to certain country. They're a little bit more provocative, right? But at the end of the day, dude, it is like I love the way they conduct themselves as far as representing their brand. You know, something that we used to do. You see the NFL kind of getting back to that with a lot of these guys. Some of the other professional sports doing that. People being cognizant that hey, I am a role model. I need to. It's not about going out getting wasted with stupid stuff. You know what I'm saying? Be appreciative. They be thanking God, which I think is good. A lot of them have that background that also helps. A lot of them are just happy to be there, dude. I mean, that's look, dude. I mean, you get numb after a while, right, Vontae? You get numb, and so it's always good to see something refreshing. Again, like K-pop Demon Hunters. That's why people are watching it. It's just a refreshing take on an animated good versus evil story. Okay. Yeah, I know. Maybe they could bring it to Hawaii, and maybe that'll help because of that Asian connection. But LA would be the best bet, but I don't know how that would do in LA. Plus, with the economy, man, I wouldn't do that, dude. It's just like way too expensive. I'm surprised they can do shows at all. Sega Man 101 says, shout out to the Higher Sanctimony, NWO Prime. What's up, big brother? Yeah, Higher Sanctimony, NWO Prime. Yeah, thanks, Prime. Thanks for being here, bro. That's my brother, man. Vontae. Yeah, the problem I think with K-pop though, especially in someone like Unbi's case, is she's trying really hard to shed that image she had in Izone because it had to be a PG type of a group. But okay, let me finish this. But when groups like that are done or members try and break out, they try too hard and shed that image. People like Unbi, people like Yujin from Luna, yeah, she's good too, and G1 from Signature. I don't know G1, and Swan from PK. Don't know Swan. I'll look them up though. Yeah, so they work so hard at it. Like Umbi, of course, you can tell when she first came into it, right? Like at her company, she's definitely like one of the um, higher members, right? So she's like the big sister, and a lot of the people in her group kind of said that's how she is, and that she's like motherly. And so yeah, but 100% agree. They do something stuff now. There's something to be said about the different images. That's why again, I'll reference K-pop Demon Hunters too, so you guys get a better understanding. The first song that the Soldier Boys, right? That's the boy band in the movie. Their first song is very poppy, right? That concept, as they call it, the look. In fact, when the opening sequences, some of the fans talk about what the concepts are, which I find fascinating, dude. Again, being a comic book guy, that's right up my alley. And so what ended up happening right at the end of the show, right when they're true, no spoilers, guys, but they do a different concept. I'll just put it to you this way, right? And it works. So it's not out of that realm of possibility, but I get what you're saying, Bonte. Especially when they start getting older, and then the public just can't handle it. That's why some of them don't make it. Like for example, dude, Bada had a good run. I remember her. I'm kind of from that generation when she was with uh, Eugene and I forgot the other guy's name and the name of the group because I'm too old to remember. But they go through these cycles, right? They go through these changes, and sometimes it works out, sometimes it don't. So 100%, dude. I know she's trying to switch that. Yeah, I know she's trying, dude. And the interesting thing about her, she is one thing I like about her is she doesn't over try. Like she doesn't try too hard, in my opinion. Now maybe I haven't seen some of the newer stuff, so maybe I gotta go look at that. But I think from what I see, she has a pretty good balance. Like she can be, like at her core, she seems just like a down to earth person. But she can play the different concepts easily. Whereas the innocent, the sexy, all that stuff. Um, I think that's what gives her staying power. Oh, Vante says their second song is the better one out of the two. Soda Pop gives that teen bop kind of sound like Got Seven had earlier in their career. Yeah, definitely, definitely. Like one of the girls, the video I watched, she compared them to Shiny. And the thing about that is, Vante, yeah, okay. So the thing about that is, it plays right into the story, right? And it's infectious. Like even one of the girls said, right? Oh, that's infectious, right? It's catchy, it's infectious, right? And that's the point of what they're trying to do, right? Because they're trying to draw the people in. Again, so to me, there's no wasted moments. Like that's the problem with a lot of our animation here in the U.S. There's way too many wasted moments, or they take too long to just drive home some of their plot points. big problem here in the U.S. Right, and anime and like I'll just lack of a better word, it's K drama, right? It's animation, right? They do a good job of hitting it. Now they get called out for like it being redundant, but that's not the point. Like for me, like you can tell like everything that they do, every scene is not wasted, and that's why I love anime Hunter. For the most part, I don't hard I hard if there's a show that's like that, I probably won't watch it. But even then, dude, those kind of shows are more in the creative design to be that way. But for most anime, dude, it's not wasted, and a lot of it boils down to like that's old school like Marvel. You guys know I'm a Marvel comic book fan, dude. Like when Jim Shooter them used to show up, like, hey, man, you need to get this crap done. In fact, you need to get rid of this and then do this, and they'd be like, no, but that's not what I want to do, and he'd be like, no, 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 but that's what you're gonna do, right? And that's very prevalent in their culture, right? And it's not. I mean, when I talk about anime and stuff like that, it's in their culture. Number one, number two, it's their standard, right? So when you look, that's why again, I've been watching this movie like when I have free time to watch something, right? Silo aside, that's why I didn't finish the other shows I have. Just going through that and realizing that there's no wasted scenes in K-pop Demon Hunters at all. Everything builds the story, everything builds the character, everything builds to the music, even the lyrics, dude. My favorite song, if I'm being honest, Fonte, is "Free." Um, and Ryun and what's his name, Jinyu, when they when they're on that rooftop and they do that duet together, dude, man, that's right up there, dude. It's like right up there with me for "Hopelessly Devoted" from Greece. I know two different kind of genres, but it has the same punch, right? And you can tell, like, when you listen to the lyrics, and a lot of the reactions picked up on this, especially the guys that do music. They're like, dude, the lyrics just are perfect. It's not just the song and the beats, which it is, right? And there's just certain parts, man. Like, and I know I watched the interview, and then the lady talked about that, like how much time and effort they poured into this, man. And it shows. But "Free," man, like when there's that one part where where she says "free," but she does that, "free." I can't sing, but she does that, especially now with my voice. But she takes that, like there's levels in it when she talks about it. If you guys have a chance, I think I played it on my video, but my video got what do you call that? They put a copyright strike on it. I thought I wouldn't get that because I don't monetize, but I guess they don't care. I mean, and that's their loss, dude. And I'm fine with it, dude. That's their property. They can do whatever they want to. For me, I think it's like, dude, if you have fans doing this kind of stuff, you should kind of let them do it, honestly. But that, that's their product, whatever. But if you guys don't, but it's called "Free." K-pop Demon Hunters "Free." In fact, here I'll show it. Not the video, not the music. I'll just show you guys. Hold up. Ryuan, yeah, what's your name? Rumi. Jeez, people. Horrible. Let's go to the videos. Wow. I wonder if these people are playing. You know what? Let me go to YouTube. In fact, on YouTube, there's a video I can actually pull, and maybe that guy will strike me, but that's fine. That's not the point of me doing this. So, hold on. Let me show you guys real quick. So this is a reaction. In fact, go check out this reaction video. I'll show it to you guys, so you guys will have a You guys can go check it out. Hold on. Let me share this. Let me blow this up. Sorry, Vante, I'm gonna have to drop this down, which is cool because I gotta answer. Hey, what's up, Ebot? What's up, brother? Let me go blow this up. So definitely go look at this title, guys, if you guys want to watch this thing. Because I'll probably get striked if I play it.
Yeah.
Have you thought about my proposal?
Look, I want to believe in your crazy plan, but I don't think I'm the one to help you.
Who else will do that?
Actually, you already have.
How so?
What are you doing?
Alright, check out these lyrics. I'll give you guys a background. These are their rivals, actually, but when they're together, Rumi has an issue, and this guy helps her out with it. So anyway, but check out the lyrics.
This started
Flow out your emotions. How you
Try to
feel?
smile, I was suffocating though, but here with you, I can finally breathe. You say you're no good, but you're good for me. I've been hoping to
Let's go.
hold that up.
Then listen to the switch.
Yeah,
Watch the switch up. Okay, the switch up is. Sorry
Bruh.
about the background.
Hey, I might need this song today. Okay,
Be careful.
Yeah.
And then the next lyrical line.
Still love cross them. Maybe
I do too. Me too.
like we missed something.
The tiger is the best part of this movie. My favorite song.
So the title's gonna come in, and they take it to the next level. And that's not the only time. And I'm only gonna go this far, guys. But it's not the only time that they do this in this movie or with this. But this song does it so well.
Yes.
It's awesome, dude. And again, I've dissected this stuff left and right. That's why I'm talking about it. Well, that's my favorite song too. I always like male and female duet songs. Yeah, and they do it right, man. Because when he kicks in, right, he does his own version, right? Because it's hard because she's the main in the story, and her voice is so powerful. So if you're gonna do a duet, man, and the dude can't match her on that power vocal chord, right, on that power level. So you got to bring when he comes in, dude. It's amazing to me, right? Because it's like he has to kind of exist with her because he can't go up on that level, which is good because she's the kind of the star. But he does his own thing, right? And he breaks it down, and he's able to kind of go with her, even though she's on the higher scale. Because the next thing that happens is that she does this power note. That's just amazing. I've watched that so many times, dude, because it's amazing it's good to see, bro. Like, look, dude, I've loved music my whole life, loved musicals my whole life, and it's good to see that when they do that. Like, they know what they're doing, and again, that's why it's so popular because people can watch this for a variety of reasons. Okay, but, yeah, what's up, my brother? Sorry, dude, just doing the podcast on a Saturday. I'm gonna probably do I gotta go because I gotta take my daughter. I think is got something going on, so I gotta drop her off, and then I'm gonna try and go to my office, man, and try and put some stuff away because I was out yesterday, which sucks, dude. And I was gonna go in, man, but I felt bad if somebody would got sick. Because I got sick from somebody else, not at my workplace, but somebody else got me sick. I was hanging around, and that's what happened. So I don't want to get anybody else sick. Right? And that's how it is now, dude, man. It's like, especially at my age, dude, it sucks. That's why I'm changing my diet, guys. And like I said, I'll be doing the videos on my channel. We'll take you through like my health regimen and show you some of my stuff that I'm doing. And if it works out for you, good. If not, man, just pique your interest. Like the other day, I bought these Okinawan sweet potatoes, and then there's some people who are like, oh, okay, well, should you be eating that because it's starch? And then I'm like, well, it's not about the starch for me, right? It's about the antioxidants, right? So again, that's what I mean, like, because I tried a lot of different stuff, and some stuff that people told me about, like fiber is actually not good for me because I already have a digestive issue. Fiber actually clogs me up more, right? So fiber is not fiber is good, like if you have a regular digestive tract. When your body processes it, if you have a good metabolism, it processes it, right? And you get all the nutrients out of it. And so what it does, but it also it's like something that they go through your digestive and get push out everything else. Right? But if you're blocked, dude, not the best thing. If you have like holes in your stomach, if you have the lining is not good. The same thing is just like people like spicy foods. But if you have ulcers and you have if your lining of your stomach's not good, spicy food is like the best thing to have. You can tell sometimes because when you have heartburn, all that stuff, dude. I did the deep dive on all of it. So like for me, I still love cabbage. Cabbage is one of my favorites. So what I'll do is the cabbage, I'll put it in a broth, and the broth is not heavily sodium. I don't have high sodium concerns, but I'm just kind of like that because what happened with me, right, is I learned to taste the flavoring, and that's what kind of threw me off. So I try and use like more natural spices. There's some soups that I make with cabbage, like corned beef and cabbage. You just gotta get a high grade meat. Love eating that still. Minus the rice, because that's kind of my kryptonite is rice. And so, but with cabbage too, what I do now is I do the Japanese style, right? I got this shaver, like this, what it basically looks like, when you grate cheese, right? It kind of has that look to it, but it's specifically made the way they make it. Because when they do sashimi, when Japanese do sashimi, or when you go to a restaurant and they have sashimi and stuff like that, they put the lettuce, they put the cabbage out there for you to eat with a sashimi, or just to use it as a bed or a decoration. I like to eat it, but it's so thin and shredded that it's easy to digest, and so that's how another way I get my cabbage fix. But anyway, I'll do videos about that. Let me let me wrap it up, dude. 224. Dang, that's a long time. I talked way too much. Sorry, guys. I was all over the place. I know. But more stuff incoming, especially when it comes to these shows that I'm watching and talking about. There's other stuff I want to talk about. What show? I was gonna start talking about it, but man, I had to fall off of it, dude. It was just really bad. After a while, man, I was watching it, and I love the actor in there, dude. But it's just like there's no like every other word, pretty graphic scenes. You know, I'm like, nah, can't do it. And it's unfortunate, man, because they had a good storyline. I like the actor. And again, that's one of my problems. And again, with Silo, man, if you know, look, I'm like you guys, dude. I know what some of this messaging needed, right? So, you know, you just gotta try it, and if it doesn't work out, just walk away. Same thing with gaming. Thing with pop culture in general, all right? So anyway, guys, let me wrap it up. Xbox on the channel. We'll save it forever. Shout out to the chat, Keybot brother. Thanks for stopping in. Vontae, really appreciate it, man. Glad you was able to stop in, bro, because I know a lot of South Korean pop stuff that we could talk about. Sega man, thanks for dropping in as well. I know you're busy, bro. You got your family. You got stuff that you have to do. And then WO Prime, bro. You know what? For the Wrecking Crew, I'll just add you. And just send you the link. And the Wrecking Crew format will be the Wrecking Crew. Okay, guys? The stuff that I just want to talk about will be videos I do on my own, like the All in Chat, the All in Politics, the All in Pop Culture, All in Pop, like I'm doing here. If you want to be on the pop, if you want to talk about pop culture, I think the Popcast, All in Popcast. But the All in Pop is just me kind of talking by myself. NWO Prime, what's that? Big Money, bro. Thanks for stopping in, brother. And look, dude, I know, bro. Like that's one thing I love about the Xbox community. Everybody's playing the games. I know I am. I played like 3 games yesterday. Dude, I was playing Solitaire on the PC. I love Solitaire. I used to play it before, and then I went and looked at it because I was looking at the points. And I was like, I played this one game to get PC points, and it was kind of like like those Facebook games you got back in the day, like Cityville or one of those diner or farming simulators. And then I was playing it, man, and then it kept on like it was trying to connect, and I think what they wanted me to do was create an account. But when it would try and connect, dude, my antiviral thing would block it, and then one time it shut down my PC. Right, and that kind of ticked me off. And what it did was it reset it, so I had to go in and do the code key if you ever had that problem, which I can't stand that Microsoft does that, or that I have that issue, especially since I have a viral software, right? Antivirus software. But there's times they'll do that, and so you have to get the key, right, and then put the key in, and then restart, and hopefully you'll get back in. And I've never had a problem; it's always worked. But you know what I'm saying? It's just irritating. And I know why they do it. It's a safeguard, right? I get it, dude. Trust me. I know a lot of stuff about it. That's all I train in. Hey, Daniel, what's going on, brother? Man, it looks like Indiana, the WNBA with Indiana Fever, man. It's still the same old, right? I seen the stuff going on with Caitlin again. I don't know. I'm kind of like on the back burner with that, bro. I'm just like, you know what, dude? I got things to do. Other stuff, dude. I'll wait till they figure it out at this point. Because you would think that they wouldn't have so much drama, but they still do. You know, like for the dudes, man. Look, there was drama back in the '70s NBA, and kind of for good reason, man. You had a lot of enforcers, you had a lot of people coming up and stuff like that. But once the '80s came around, dude, these dudes got smart. They're like, you know what, dude, we can make money off of this. We can become successful. We can become stars, and that's what ended up happening. I was hoping the same thing for the WNBA, man. But dude, when people say, look, dude, if you're a woman, don't get mad. I'm just gonna be honest, dude, because I think most women know this, dude. It's that queen bee effect is real, man. Like it doesn't matter, like that like the ultimate goal. That's not that's what I figured out watching the WNBA, man. It's just like they just can't check themselves, right? Like when they see another female doing well, bro, they have no. And I'm not even talking about the racism thing that everybody talks about, dude. I just think it's women being women, personally, because I've seen it, dude, and it's cool. Now, if you're a woman, you watch this, correct me if you're wrong. If Dale was here, she could probably correct me and tell me where I'm wrong with that. I'm just speaking out, you know what I'm saying? That's what I see. It doesn't make sense to me. I was like, dude, you have a chance to like increase your margins, right? And there's a lot of people in the WNBA that are very marketable. Angel Reese is one of them. Whether people like her or not, she's very marketable. The only thing Angel Reese needs I don't think she's getting it from this coach, but she doesn't listen to. She has an attitude. But they need to bring in somebody that can sit her down and be like, look, dude, do you want to go next level or not? Because the hustle's there, man. The athleticism's there, dude. The hard work, as far as her, like when she like battens herself down and focuses, dude, it's there. She has it all. The only thing she needs to work on is her overall, not her overall game, but her shooting. Right? She's around the rim so much. She grabs so many rebounds, and that's kind of the joke with her, that she gets so many rebounds because she misses so much. But still, the hustle's there. That's what I appreciate about it. The intensity and the hustle. Now you just gotta kind of bring that in, right, and use it positively, not negatively. Not calling people names and getting into fights and arguments and stuff like that, because that's not gonna help you at the end of the day. And you should, because the league's gonna have to change, man. They need to get better referees. That's if they want to get better. I mean, anybody can see, dude. This is not rocket scientists. Anybody can sit there and realize, look at what the problems are. And these women, I know they felt like disrespected for decades, but that's just the way it is, man. Every sports league, and I know it's popular. They just kind of signal yourself out, but you're no different than other sports leagues that have to go through their trials and tribulations to get that bona fides, right? That's just the way it is, man. You guys have a fan base. You guys can grow it, man. You guys can grow it, but maybe you guys don't want to change. Maybe you feel like you're selling out. I don't know. When I listen to some of these people, I'm like, I don't get it. Right? I know everything's not about money, guys, but this is your career, and your career is not going to last long, dude. And you have only one opportunity, because you can take the opportunity and still not make it. That's the problem, right? You have to. You can't waste it, dude. You have to take advantage of everything you have. And then when you get like the NBA, right, or the NBA was, right, that's when you can sit at the table, or that's when you can make your demands. But I know a lot of them love playing basketball. That's indisputable, right? You can tell they have a love for the game. What they need to learn is the business, and they need to bring somebody in. And it's funny. It reminds me of League Their Own. When they had the female baseball teams. So some of these girls were like rough around the edges, right? Because they're mostly tomboys, right? And so they have to go to etiquette classes and take like what was it, ballet, do tea, and to have that image. And everybody does it, dude. That's not just. So it drives me nuts. Anybody would have to do this, dude. Especially if you're trying to build on that. Anyway, Daniel, thanks for being here, bro. I'm wrapping it up. But thanks for bringing the sports in there, because I did want to say that. But at the end of the day, it is what it is, man. I don't know. I'm like, dude, you have the golden goose. You should utilize her way better. For me, dude, Indiana just needs a coach in there that'll just let Caitlin be Caitlin. That's what I would do. I would let Caitlin be Caitlin and focus on the girls around her. Like, work them into the mix. Like set her as the flag bearer, as the standard. She's the standard, like Master Chief in Halo, just as an Xbox channel. Like, everything revolves around Master Chief, right? But then you have the other Spartans, and the other Spartans fill it out, right? So your focal point is Master Chief, but there's nothing wrong with bringing everybody else up with it, and that's what the WNBA needs to realize, and I don't think they're going to do it, dude. So I just wait till they realize that, and then I'll come along. But right now, I just got so much stuff going on, right? And I'm going to start doing more of these videos, because I'm talking about topics that I really enjoy. But anyway. All right, guys. Thank you, chat. Xbox All In channel. Host Save It Forever. We out.